when it was lost, I helped my heart out of the dark, out of the dark. I found the power, a brand new day, a brand new day. I found the power, a brand new day, a brand new day. There is a love, I only know, I found the strength to let her go, to let her go. I found the power, as you can see, them no believe, girl, you can forward. Come there with me, living lavishly.
In life, if you understand me or not, misunderstand me or not, me, I'm okay, I'm okay. And if you think I'm wrong or not, long as it's what I want, me, I'm okay, I'm okay. Cause who are you to judge me like say you be holy past? And they love my life, get my peace of mind, that I try survive. We all be sinners, my body, nobody holy past. And my happiness comes first, I never come left to stress, yeah. Nah, I be like Terminator, I dey deliver, I pass it doctor. Nah, I be like Terminator, I dey deliver, I pass it doctor. Nah, I be like Terminator, I dey deliver, I pass it doctor. I be like Terminator, I dey deliver, I pass it doctor.
All right. We're about to get started. If everybody just wants to come in and grab a seat, feel free to grab a seat. All right. Hello. Hi everyone, my name is Rumbi Dai Muzengi and I will be your host or your co-host tonight. Thank you all so much for coming in. We're about to get started. So if everyone just wants to grab a seat, get comfortable. If you need to grab a drink, feel free to do so. Hello, Marta. Good to see you. Good to see you all tonight. Thank you all so much for honoring Victor's invite and coming out. Really excited to have important conversations today around mental health and around general wellness. So thank you all so much. So we're going to get started. I'm going to call Victor. I'm a bit blind, even though I have glasses on, so I can't really see if he's in here. Oh, yeah, there you go. Okay, so I'm going to call the man of the night tonight to come and introduce himself and introduce our first segment. So if you just want to give a round of applause for Victor. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for coming today. Again, my name is Victor. It's very nice to see everyone. Please let's clap for Rumbi. So I asked Rumbi, what color are you wearing? She said purple.
He copied me.
So
This was not.
I went very far. I made sure it was purple from him to her. It's very lovely to see people gather here today. I think this is the first of its kind on a particular day like this. This week has been a very hectic week. We had the World Suicide Prevention Week Day, then we had Are You OK Day. So we thought about how can we put all this together and have real, genuine communication about what is actually bothering people at this time. So we chose four main topics around migration, men's mental health, family sustainability. And it's very important to actually dive deep into this topic, because most times we just talk about, are you okay? Are you okay? Especially me, I'm from Nigeria. When somebody asks you, are you okay? It's actually very rude to ask me, are you okay? I'm like, what do you mean if I'm okay? Yeah, you ask the person back. But it's very important that we are here. And we're going to have a good time. Please clap for yourselves, please. I'm just going to do a random check-in with everyone. Is everyone okay? Are you okay? Say yay. Are you okay? Are you okay? Ask me. Thank you. Nobody used to ask me. Thank you for asking me.
No one's going to ask me.
Are you okay?
No.
Oh, send me your bank account.
I'll send you my bank.
I know you like money. If she wants to be okay, it's money. Just send her money. I'm just going to introduce the guests tonight, and then we're going to start. The first session is about migration policy and its changes that is going to affect or affecting the international student or the post-study student visa holders. I'm just going to go around the room, and if I introduce them, just clap for them. We have Mamta. Please clap for Mamta. Yeah, she's here. Mamta is the CEO of the United in Diversity, and she's also a lecturer. Please clap for her one more time. She does a beautiful job in the community for years, and these are the people that we look up to mentor us. We also have our Dr. Ephraim. Please clap for him, Dr. Ephraim. He's an expert in almost everything: construction, mental health counselor, project management. Like he's versed in, it's like he went to university and said, give me everything you are offering here. And he has qualifications to even back it up with real life experience. So it's very good to have him here. Most times you have to book sessions to have him for his words of wisdom. And we also have Mr. Wilson Misika. Wilson is here. Clap for him. Some of you might not know, you get embarrassed. This was the first person that gave me my first visa when I was coming to Australia. So I came in as an international student. He was the international student officer that was communicating with me. I went on his LinkedIn, I saw power bike. I said, Australia must be good. Look at this black man doing very well. When I come here, I want to be like him. I'll boom, boom, boom. Until I go to the school. The school was a scam. When you say the school was empty, I was like, the photographer did a very, very good job. The school had no compound, no safety point, no assembly point. Everywhere you go is assembly point. In case of fire, just stay where you are. I'm telling you. But now it's a very big school. It's actually a very big school in the city now. It's 2014. And now he works with ECU at Vicolo University, and he also covers Bhutan students. He covers Kenya, looks after many international students, and has got good connection even with the government officials, and also very updated about what's going on in the migration area. We also have Mr. Abraham, who's doing his research. Please clap for him. He's doing his research in AOD and its effect on the African student. So the use of AOD, how it affects, because I told him when I spoke to him, I said, before I left Nigeria to Scotland, I never used to drink. I didn't drink throughout my first degree. But when I got to Scotland, because of the weather, whiskey was my favorite, But then when you're not used to alcohol, the way you drink, because it's a new thing. Everyone is drinking whiskey since they are born in Scotland. But you never drank alcohol, you just drink, say, I've missed a lot. So you try to consume more than you can. And we did. And also we have Bill Lassisi. Bill Lassisi is here. Please clap for him. Bill is a great guy. He looks like American, but he's African. This guy is a specialist in HR. And when I moved to Australia, one of the first job I got was the HR officer. So he actually knows recruitment process, interview, how to answer questions, how to arrange your resumes, and is now with the department. He's moved around department. You were with communities, justice, army. Now you're with justice. Oh yeah, he's an HR specialist. Please, it's very good to have you here. Please clap for him one more time, please. And we have Regina. You should meet Regina. Regina has a very beautiful smile, very genuine smile. She looks like she cannot hurt a butterfly. Regina is a specialist in research, also in transnational family support. When I was like, what is transnational? Apparently, there is an effect of when people move in from one country, leaving their children behind, and then coming back after they've settled in that country. That space could take as much as 5 to 10, 16 years, depending on the visa journey. By the time they meet their child again, the child is already an adult. Now, to bring that bonding back, it's like, I've not seen you for 10 years, Mom. Like, who are you to talk to me like this now? Because someone else has parented them. So it's a very, it's a space that no one really talks about. There's a lot of parents here whose children are back home, and they always wish I could go back home and look after my child, not be in Australia and also keep walk. Yeah. But that's the way Australia is set up. All of us, we are very hardworking until we end up in aged care.
You make it sound very depressing.
It's actually depressing. It's real. Like I meet a lot of, because we don't have aged care in Nigeria. And we look after our parents. But you go to aged care these days, nobody comes. Let's continue the show. Then we have our wonderful brother here. We have also Gome. Gome is a counselor. Please clap for Gome. Gome is here. And we have the students from Cochin University. They are journalists. They are about to be journalists because you have not finished yet. One day you finish. I finished my courses. I went to school.
Did you though?
I was an international student, so I have to finish. International student, you cannot drop out. Because the cost of dropping out is doesn't worth it. It is $4,000 per unit. You will finish your school. You don't have to pray, you finish it. We also have Dr. Sunshine here. Dr. Sunshine is at the back. Please clap for him. And it was his birthday yesterday.
Excuse me, it was my birthday yesterday. Thanks for the shout out.
Yeah, it was their birthday yesterday. Let us sing happy birthday song. 1, 2, go. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to Rambing and Rumbing. Happy birthday to you. Hip, hip, hip. Hip, hip, hip. All right, let's start the show. Okay? Enough talking.
You don't understand.
Yeah. So I'm going to invite the first session. The first session, we're talking about the migration. Let's invite Dr. Ephraim on stage, please. Let's clap for him. And we have Mr. Wilson Mrs. Yeah. Yeah, anyway. And then we have Abraham on stage. Hello. Hello. So we are live actually, so people from some part of the world that are not sleeping can listen to us now, because some people are already sleeping. This session is very important because as we mentioned, there's been a lot of migration changes in this financial year. I would love them to go one after the other. Just tell us these changes and then reflect on how they think would affect the international student, and also from a research point of view, from an student recruitment point of view, and also from a agency point of view.
Yeah, thank you. It's good to be here. First of all, thank you, Vicolo, for the invite. It's very, first, of course, I have to give you a disclaimer. This is not an advisory, professional advice session. And quickly just chip in that I may have to rush off after this session. No disrespect, I have to go somewhere else. But if you have any follow-up questions or clarification for me, please check with Vicolo. I'm happy to take questions later. But the changes are really so many that even as professionals in the industry, we are also trying to catch up. We're trying to catch up. But some of them have come through already. And in the context of today's session, I also want to point out this is Are You OK Day. So I'm not going to be here really promoting all about migration. The context is that of wellness, that of hope. So in terms of the students' context, before now, student visa is already very challenging. I'm sure even non-professionals know what GTE stands for. Genuine Temporary Entrant. To the extent that even as a professional, when you put in the best application, there is no guarantee. There is definitely no guarantee. We know the law. We can put in our best, but someone makes the decision that is not the agent. So that in itself was already causing a lot of angst, even among agents. And then recently, GTE was removed, and it was changed to what they now call genuine student. So it's no longer demonstrate that you really come here to study. It's now demonstrate that you're a genuine student. And you will think that that will relieve tension. But even at that, talk to an agent, they will tell you that one of the area of service, sometimes you may not get somebody to help you or give you assistance, is student visa, because there's so much uncertainty about it. But the one that has really caused a bit of issue recently is the postgraduate or the post-study visa. For most people from mostly the, if I may call it, multicultural regions of the world, one of the ways we get to stay, even though that was not the original purpose of your visa, was through post-study visa. It's supposed to be very straightforward. When you finish studying here, as long as you apply within 6 months, it's almost certain, as long as you have a certificate, degree qualification here. But recently, an age limit was put. And that was not, it wasn't backdated to say, okay, if you came here before, it doesn't apply to you, but it was just from 1st July, if you are up to 35 years old, you are no longer qualified for that visa, unless for those concessionary passport holders. So that caused a lot of trouble, a lot of uncertainty for people. And then the other one that is really also a challenge. Before now, if you can go from one student visa to another, but you can do it while onshore. But now that is not allowed. There's something about visa hopping, and that's what they're trying to avoid. So that's causing another issue. Some people come here as visitors and then convert to student visa. That in itself is no longer acceptable like that. You have to go offshore to apply. And one thing with going offshore compared to applying onshore, this is one thing that some people need to be aware about. If you apply for a visa onshore and the visa is not granted, there's a way you can challenge that decision. And sometimes you can be supported to really challenge and stay. But once you apply from offshore, there is no room for challenge. So maybe later on we can expand a bit more, but just to chip in a few there.
Thank you. Thank you for that. I will let Mr. Wilson speak from international student point of view. And it's very important to understand the dynamics of these changes. The age he mentioned, I think the age is 35. Yeah, 35. And also that impact on international student visa. I moved in UK when it was done like this in UK, it affected my stay. To the extent I left UK a day before my visa expired. So you can imagine that kind of impact on the current student right now. Please, can you expand on that area? That new changes of the age.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So I feel like we have to sort of look at, maybe we could tell this from 3 angles. Student A is offshore, wants to study a postgraduate program, has got a family, and they're about to choose Canada, US, or Australia as a destination. Okay, student B who's already here, we'll talk about student B later. Then we'll go to student C who was graduating last week, right? Whatever university that you're at. So student A decides to take educational loan to come and study. The attraction to Australia, of course, the allure of coming to Australia is because student A can move with their family here, and the kids can go to school in WA. Dependents that go to public schools, whether it's, I think it's primary to secondary, don't have to pay, fees, as long as it's a public school. So they're attracted to Australia, they take out an educational loan back home, and they're banking on the post-study work rights to pay back that educational loan. So they make it here, they get their visa, Mrs. Let's empower women. Let's say it's the wife that came to study. Then while they're studying, then this happens, right? The migration review, the policy changes, and it's not been grandfathered. And what that means is that in the past, what you see with policies, that when they usually change a policy, they'll say students who applied or who entered at this year are not going to be affected. But this was very cutthroat. If you're here already, this is going to impact you.
So you mean if you are here and you got in like September last year?
Doesn't matter anymore.
Doesn't matter.
Yeah, the law is the law now. The policy has changed. In the past, like I said, what I'm saying is in the past when immigration changed policy, usually they would exempt a certain cohort that came in at a certain period. But this doesn't apply here. So now student A is here, families here, kids are going to school and owes money back home and has been told you need to go. So you finished your postgraduate, you finished your studies. You cannot get your post-study work rights because you're above 35, 33, 35, you turn 35, and you need to go back. Now back home, I've got a loan that I need to pay for, and I was attracted to Australia because I had post-study work rights to play with. Even more years were added on to regional areas. So this student is here now. Desperate. Are you okay? So definitely going through a lot of mental health issues at the moment. And what some students used to do is that if the wife studies, and then when they graduate, then the husband would maybe take over after the graduate visa, and then they'll prolong their stay here in Australia. So you can't do that anymore. You can't jump on a 485. And if you've done a program, for example, that is not in a skills shortage list or doesn't have any demand, then you're double screwed. So there's a lot of students in that boat at the moment, right here on shore. Now, what does that do for us recruiters? There are two things that those students can do. Some of them have gotten up and said, you know what, I'm going back home. I don't care. I'll figure it out. I'll get a job. I'll pay this back. But then you're pulling out kids out of school, and then you're moving back. Then some of them are going, it's not a bad idea to apply for a protection visa. While I'm here, prolong my stay, buy my time. And that has an impact back on us, the university. So we're exposed, and we've been put in a position where we're exposed in terms of the risk rating that we get via DHA. Student B is already here. Student B is about to graduate. And now student B is going, figured out a loophole. Which is, it happens with everything. Where there's humans, which is Earth, people always going to have, there's always going to be a loophole. So student B goes, you know what? I don't like research, but right now that sounds really attractive. So I'm about to graduate, and I'm going to apply for a PhD because PhD, the age cap is about 50, and I can stay back. So that's what I'm going to work towards. Then you got providers going, don't know. We're also being watched by the government right now. We don't know where this is going to fall because we're all being hit by visa refusals. We don't want that on our record. So again, student B is 50-50. Depending on which provider opens the door for them, they're going to go and do their PhD or their master's by research. Not all universities or providers can take those students on because some of them are very strict about it's not that easy to do a research program.
Thank you for that. I'll just give the mic to the reason, I think one of the reasons why the government made these changes of policy was because of overcrowding and housing issue. But I'm not sure, do you have any information if international students are actually the cause of housing or homelessness in Australia?
Yeah, that argument has been put forward over the time by policymakers and government officials over and over again, but there's always the counter argument from a research and policy perspective that international students numbers, particularly in more regional areas, are not so significant to cause housing shortages. Yeah, so for someone as an international student myself, when these policy announcements came in, some of my colleagues who were also more senior than I am, and were obviously being affected by some of these age limits regarding to post-study work permits and visa. You could see the visible frustration in terms of their psychological distress causing psychological distress and negative mental health outcomes. And I analyze this whole situation as a state of learned helplessness, to the extent that once we have a perceived lack of control over an issue, it obviously relates or results in psychological distress, and this is where our coping mechanisms come in as international students. Some may adopt to more healthier ways of coping with the situation. Others end up using unhealthier ways to cope, and which may result in very worse outcomes for them and their immediate family members. So these are all nuanced dynamics that I think that the policymakers and the people who are in authority has to always consider when it comes to some of these policy announcements and implementations, because we are all here to study and get the best outcomes for the Australian government, the system, and also improve our lives. But the moment some of these things end up causing a lot of distress here and there, it results in, visible frustrations. For some of us, because of our background and our academics level, we may not be affected, but I saw how some of my colleagues were being affected to the extent that they couldn't make much progress on their studies until a point where some slight adjustments came in, and I saw that things really became stable.
Thank you for that.
Yeah.
Do you have something to add around that housing issues?
Oh,
You.
the housing issue.
Yeah, because they were saying the debate was international students at the cost of overcrowding, and we need to reduce the number. We need more skilled migrants, and if they cannot afford this housing, they need to go back or stay home instead of coming, because that was the debate.
That's a very interesting.
And that was also because election is coming and everything. So
yeah, I think you hit it on the nail there. So I'm not a politician. And I'm not even a student of politics, but this is a year of politics, all right? We didn't dive too much into the whole aspect of housing. I do know that most destinations should have seen this coming. There was pent-up demand pre-COVID, and once those borders started opening, of course, there was an influx of international students coming in. At that particular time, nobody was apparently not ready. And a lot of us were not ready, actually. So the demand obviously skyrocketed. That obviously had an implication on places in universities. That had obviously implications in jobs that were available for international, depending on what you use to sell your destination. That also had implications on housing, of course. Now, at what percentage? That's something that is obviously at the preview of politicians, right? A 4.5 can sound like a 54%, depending on how the tongue rolls and how the politician gets out of bed. So I think in terms of the housing aspect, yes, international students obviously in most cities have got disposable income or have a lot of income that they can utilize to actually bid for accommodation aspects and all those type of things. So I don't really see the accommodation issue from my angle. The accommodation issue is a political tool. I don't see it as what was the game changer in terms of what really triggered for this policy. I think a lot of things came into play in terms of shifting this policy towards a certain direction.
And it wants to add to that?
A lot of international students live in shared apartments and shared accommodation arrangements. So it can't really be a major issue when it comes to them causing housing shortages.
I slept on the couch for a very long time. Just addressing that housing issue, there is now this new, I think you know more about that, the construction area where the government is trying to focus on. How do you think we can explore in that area? What opportunities are there for new migrants or people that have got family members that want to come to Australia?
Yeah, I think it's already mentioned. There's a political dimension here. I recall whenever this conversation is brought up, the question is, just recently, WA got approved in visa in migration world, what we call DAMA, which is designated area. Thank you. So, and that is an indication that we need people in WA. So that's why whenever these housing and homelessness things come, it's just another blame game. Rather than taking responsibility, politicians know how, of course this is politics. But the truth about it is that when there is migration, let's face fact, it brings pressure on utilities. It's natural where there is growth. But it's part of the growth story. How can you, I still work actively in the construction industry. Where I'm working right now, a few weeks ago, we were looking for a staff that they couldn't employ for weeks. The WA is forecast to require at least 5,000 more construction workers per year over the next 5 years. That's why DAMA was created. And part of the solution are the students coming through. So whenever they talk about homelessness, the solution is building more homes. How do you build more homes without bringing in more workers? How do you bring more workers without migration? So it's almost another chicken and egg situation, but there's always somebody to blame. So you're right, construction is not letting off. But can I just quickly direct this conversation to the main target here, the students themselves, including those with prospect to coming here. I'm currently very big on value and productivity. Please, I don't want this to turn another student to feeling less important. What this can cause, which could also add to the mental health situation, it's someone feeling not good enough, a kind of rejection. But I tell you, if you have it, and I don't think I'll get in trouble for this, if you have it, Australia loses, because you go to Canada. New Zealand is not far away. So I think this is an eye-opener for everybody. And it's unfortunate that some people will suffer for it in the short term, but it's time to be so valuable that your rejection is actually a loss. So I know this may not apply to everybody, but for me, I feel more, and that's why my research is around that area. Value additionality because you have a multicultural team, because we bring value. But this whole discussion is all about migrants are the problem. I don't want to go to America where they say migrants are now eating dogs, you know. Sorry to bring that in. I couldn't run away from that temptation. And this gets to me because the people around this room right now bring so much value to Australia that this conversation should not be another rejection case. That's why I like what you said earlier on, one of my colleagues here, that some people will end up making up a decision rather than feel as if you are less. I'll carry my value somewhere else. Again, this may not be the word for some people, especially when you're already feeling down, but I'm looking forward myself. I'm looking at bigger picture. I'm looking at rising a generation that would remind people that we bring value, not pain, not homelessness. So, yes, back to your question. Construction still needs people,
Yeah.
and students are part of the mix. Do you know that in the midst of this, there's already a talk of a cap for students' number? I'm sure you would know about this.
Yeah, that's ready.
It's already in is that 270,000?
2025.
So the pain is not, unfortunately, not a bearer of bad news, but the pain may still get worse before it gets better. So let's start bringing value. That's my main message.
Thank you very much. What would be your key advice for someone who got in with the hope of, after my study, I'm going to need a 2-year visa? What do you think? Because to be honest, I'm very real right now. It's either they are thinking of research studies or they are thinking of falling in love.
Of what? Falling in love.
You get, when I mean I'm being real right now. People fall in love a day after they graduate, and then they marry a week later with a lot of selfies to demonstrate their love to the Department of Home Affairs. But again, people don't prepare for the dilemma. These are the things that, in the long run, causes mental health and severe pain because of policies like this, right? I'm talking from a real life example. Not that I fall in love, but from a real life example. What would be your advice for people going through these challenges? Yeah.
Selfies. Look, like I think my elder here said, it's not the end of the world. Okay. And I think everybody should always think of this aspect of there's two sides to every story. There's two sides to every coin. So is to every story. Balance should be the way of life, be it for better or for worse. All right? That's deep. So what I'm trying to say there, without saying much, is it's not the end of the world. If you find yourself in a situation where you did genuinely come here as a student, and of course, people come for a better life for themselves and their family. But think of it as from the aspect of I've picked up a skill, I've got value as a human being. I can go back, if it's going back to Africa, go back, land yourself a great job, start again. You have to have that value where no matter where I put you in this world, you can still make it, right? And then maybe that's your journey. Maybe Australia was just a stopover for your journey. And maybe at this particular time, it's just a stopover. And many years down the track, you may be able to return. But forcing yourself to stay in a place where everything is working against you sometimes may do you more harm than good. All right, and we feel sorry for people. But even like, I feel sorry and we're like, oh, try this and try that and try that. You end up just getting distressed. Where, you start looking over your shoulder whether you're doing the right thing or
Yeah.
So I think the greatest thing here is the best advice I'd give is, look, it's happened. It's unfortunate that it has happened in a time that is impacting those that are in that age bracket. It's not everybody. You still have undergraduate kids who got opportunities. For them, pull up your socks, make sure you're studying hard, try and jump into your master's after your bachelor's, apply it. I won't advertise the university, but you can apply so you can apply very quickly and jump into your master's. But for everybody else that has hit that 35-year cap, this is not the end of your story. In fact, it's just beginning. You got so much value to give the world.
Thank you very much. Just to also add to that, the fact that temporary visa holders, maybe most people don't know, is they are not eligible to Medicare. And they are not eligible to mental health care plan, depending on the insurance they have. So even if you are going through a difficult time, I remember when I was very down, I asked my GP, I need a mental health care plan. And he's like, where is the Medicare? I'm like, what?
Bluetooth disconnected.
So,
Bluetooth pairing.
so I was like, I don't have that. And he's like, sorry, I can't give you a mental health care plan because of that. So these are the things that there are not even enough resources for international students, even while they are onshore. So, yeah.
So this is the situation where the supportive systems are not much in place for international students to fall on or to seek help from with regards to the limited avenues for and resources available. So I think that we must be more open as international students to ideas and have the hope that there are opportunities globally we can explore. So there's all come back to the value addition, adding value to our self-development, developing our skills in our relevant disciplines, and also making sure that we excel in our academic lives and all that, so that it will put us as a higher pedestal to compete at the global stage. So Australia is not a place, it's not the only place we can explore. Or thrive with our academic qualifications or skill sets. There are other places globally we can all equally compete for.
Thank you very much for that. Please, I'm just going to stop. If you have any other conversation, please feel free to get their contact and talk to them. Please speak to someone, get advice as early as possible so you can know what pathway. Don't think it by yourself. Kind of talk to someone like migration agent or even people here. Today is a good way to network for free and talk to them. Please, let's clap for them for their time. Thank you very much. The next session will be around psychosocial safety. Thank you very much. So the next session will be around psychosocial safety. We've got Jamie here, Jamie Miller. Please clap for Jamie. G'day, mate. Jamie is an ambassador for Are You OK? And also is a specialist when it comes to health and safety, and especially psychosocial safety. He's won a lot of awards when it comes to safety in Australia nationally. Even in suicide prevention, he's also one of the award winners among the guys there. Please, we're very privileged to have you. You can have your seat. And we have Bill Lassisi, an HR consultant with the Department of Justice. Thank you.
Sorry.
So I'm just going to start straight with, what is psychosocial safety?
Excellent. It's not an easy one to explain, is it? Psychological safety is probably the better term for it. It's a state where people feel comfortable and safe to be able to speak up and talk about what's going on for them, as well as safe to learn and, I guess, challenge the status quo. Did you have anything you wanted to add to that, Phil?
Actually, yeah.
There you go.
Okay, yeah. Psychosocial safety. A lot of effort have been put into physical hazard, but not much has been said about its psychological hazard. And trust me, psychological hazard actually costing Australian government more than $15 billion. It costs our economy more than $50 billion every year. And the direct impact on the employer is more than 10 billion. If you put that into employee, that means we're losing employee for more than 3 days in every year. It's huge. It's a lot. However, there hasn't been a lot of spotlight on that. So when you sort of like talk about it, I was like, where did you get the information from? It's something I'm really passionate about. And you also, part of the topic, which you'll still go there, is about the silent treatment, which is the major, causes of psychosocial hazard issue. We'll still go into that. There are a lot of issues, and what we need to do, you don't actually have to, if you feel unsafe in the workplace, you don't have to go home with it. That is what a lot of us do. One will feel, oh yeah, I don't like my boss and stuff like that. He's doing it and stuff like that. Then you go home, you started, getting grumpy with your children, your family and stuff like that. That is never the way to go about it. It's happened in the workplace. It has to be addressed there.
Thank you. Before we continue, I just want to show, with a show of hands, has anyone experienced any sort of psychosocial, psychological hazard in a workplace before? Like bullying, not happy to go to work, you're scared of your staff?
Is there a way to get us out of work?
Yeah, so everybody, right? Because it's a safe place, your boss is not here.
Trust me, how many people have felt that, oh, thank God it's Friday, I don't want to be here tomorrow. You understand? So, I mean, it is not, I mean, there are a lot of issues. You know, it might be the workload, you know, lack of clarity on what you're doing and stuff like that. However, we just sort of like bottle the whole thing, you know, like day in, day out, because we believe that, especially for men, if someone is complaining about the work, you know, like we have this sort of like mentality about, come on, be a man, stop complaining, stop bitching, stop whinging and stuff like that. However, we actually hold each other that we need to listen to each other. If someone tells me that, oh yeah, I just want to go home, what I want to do to the person is, are you feeling, are you okay? Where do you want to go? I want to know. Okay, it's extremely important, because it might be as simple as someone just feeling sick, or it might be a bigger issue. Okay, if you don't invest in, you know, like knowing what is happening, you won't know, and you will be surprised if you're genuine about, you know, like wanting to know what people are going through. You will be surprised what you will get out of them.
Thank you very much for that. Does anyone have any question around psychological safety in the workplace? Not yet. Anyone? Because when we talk about psychological safety, when it comes to physical safety, it's easier to measure it. But how do you measure psychological safety?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I guess it's the same thing. If you had a broken arm or you're missing a digit, like, you're probably gonna pay a bit more attention to something like that, right? Whereas if something's going on in somebody's mind, it might not be so obvious. So it really is the silent threat for a lot of organizations. In terms of noticing it, there are subtle little signs. So particularly, like, I know for myself, so nobody here knows my story, probably not. 7 years ago, I had a plan in place to try and take my own life. I was 2 days out from executing it, and my sign for my wife was that I was not answering any messages. So I was getting texts from all over, and it was overwhelming me. So I just ignored them all. I just didn't want to deal with it. So she was getting messages from my friends saying, hey, what the hell? What's going on for Jamie? Why is he not answering me? And then when I made that final resolve that I was going to take my own life, it was like a complete different change, right? I was all of a sudden like so stoked, so happy, because I'd made that decision to follow through with it. I started giving away things that were really prized to me. I collect records, so that's my thing. I started giving away records that were like my favorite things in the world. So there's these really subtle signs. My wife, and we're talking about Are You Okay as well at the moment. So if my wife hadn't have asked if I was okay, I would not be here with you guys today. So that's really the importance of a conversation like that. And that's how critical these things can be.
Thank you for that. Now, I've been in a situation where the policy of the workplace says, once you have understanding with someone, the policy says you should approach the person and speak to the person. That was not possible for someone who works in the Department of Child Protection with 99% women. Right? If I go and meet a woman and say, I don't like the way you speak to me, in my African accent, she will see me as possibly aggressive. And she could say something I did not even say. And the world might believe her. So I had to practice fake smile for 9 months. Like, for 9 months, I practiced that till I left that job. How do you express yourself, what is the best way to actually let your manager know, look, this is not okay?
That's a very good question, Victor. Okay, because I don't like confrontations. It's not my style. I would never confront someone to be like, oh, you've done something wrong. And it's very important to be very proactive rather than being reactive. If you feel a certain behavior is affecting you, there are a lot of ways to go about it. The perpetrator, one thing they do is they don't like the other people to know that they are doing those things, okay? Because the perpetrator actually know that they are doing it, okay? What you can do is start documenting it, okay? Rather than, like confrontation, put it in an email, CC the upper manager, okay? So they know what is going on. Keep those records. Walk up to your HR team, okay? When you want to express it, don't use any emotion, okay? Be practical about it. Put it into monetary aspect, how it's affecting your work. You understand? With that is what the HR department is focused on. That reaction is actually have direct impact on the work you're doing. They will do something about it.
It's actually, some of this actually transitions, I guess. It's interconnected into work health and safety law as well. So with that, there's also an issue resolution process that can be really helpful for organisations. So if you are working in an organisation and you feel like you can't escalate something directly, or you don't have that psychological safety, I really would encourage you to look at your issue resolution process and find out who you can go to as an alternative, because I think that can really help.
Thank you for that. Another question, since all of you are very fine, is the email ethics. There are sometimes some emails are sent as a missile. And once you reply that, you have shot yourself. Right? How do you manage emails that someone is just sending an email but CC 500 people into that and put things in caps lock? How do you manage that?
Okay. If you work with government, you will notice that happens a lot. Okay. I always tell people, be professional at all time. Okay. You don't have to rush at replying the email. Okay. Even if you feel the email is not the way it should be, it's important to address it. Okay, don't get emotion with it and be like, oh yeah, it's disrespect me and stuff like that. No, you're being aggressive. Okay, and you don't want to do that. If someone sort of like send you wrong email or disrespectful email, and you want to get back at the person with the email, you've already shot yourself. Okay, just relax. Think about the best way to express it, but don't let it go unnoticed. Like put it in there that you don't really appreciate the manner in which the person talk to you. CC the whole people that actually, for example, someone was asking me a document. If you work with government, you will realize that. I was fortunate to have the job I do, and I don't take it for granted. Okay, so no matter how, close we are, I still want you to do the right thing. Okay? Even though I can sort of like give you access to something based on the conversation, I still want you to put that in email, okay? I don't joke with my duty. And when you sort of like go through that, some people just want to react and be like, oh, Bill, you should know better. You just wait. You're doing too much and stuff like that. And they just want to be a little bit aggressive when they send you that email. Nah. The fact will remain. The moment you started referring them back to the policy and procedure and CC their line manager on it, they will understand what you're trying to do, that you're taking your duty very important. There's nothing wrong in doing the right thing. It's very important. So, yeah, we just need to understand that removing our emotion from whatever that happened in the workplace will let us see it in a clear picture.
More professional way.
Yeah.
There are some challenges. I think I like the idea, but there are some people, maybe they're on a temporary visa and they have to be on that job to get a positive skill assessment. So you have to have that job for at least a year or two for immigration to say Now you are good enough to be called a social worker or a counselor. So those kind of set of people, what do you think they can do? Because it's easier for them to say, okay, just go. You are too much. You are already addressing policy and procedures. Just go. We don't want you anymore.
It's simple. Do the right thing. You don't have to suck up to your supervisor, okay? Because the whole organization are watching you, okay? The moment you start sucking up to your supervisor, you will look good in front of, you will be doing more wrong because other people are seeing what you're doing. There is no way you want to suck up to one person in an organization. You will sort of like miss being a professional in that aspect, okay? The most important thing is do things by the book. The rules and regulations are there for something. The policy and procedure are there for something. Do your best to follow those things. It will work for you.
Thank you very much. So do your best to follow those things, yeah?
Okay. When I remember when I was looking for a job and people were saying, oh, the races in Australia, it's a little bit hard to get a job and stuff like that. The first thing I do is, like speak to people. How do I get into a government job? And someone told me something that actually is like, like opening the whole thing. It was just like, read the selection criteria and make sure you address it. Okay, it's as simple as that. And I went home that day. I remember I wasn't even I wasn't even using cover letter anymore. I just sort of like focused on addressing the selection criteria, underlining blah, blah, blah. And trust me, when I applied for 10 jobs, I got 2 interviews. 2 out of 10. I was like, and before then, I've done I've applied for like 50. Just using one size fits all, boom, 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 and it doesn't work. Okay? The moment you do the right thing, forget about it. Nobody look at your name, your color, and stuff like that. Some people might be a little bit, I've worked with some people whereby they don't know how to deal with people with color and stuff like that. They want to be friends with me, but their remark is a little bit rude and stuff like that. But that doesn't make me feel less of who I am. Okay, just do the right thing, you will get to where you're going.
Thank you for that. Lastly, there's a new legislation that came around, not contacting after work hours. Yeah, can you touch on that?
Yeah, sure. So I guess there's been a whole bunch of legislation that's been released over the last, let's say, 12 to 24 months. A large portion of it has been slated under closing the loopholes, is what they're calling it. So they're trying to close the loopholes to be able to enable people to be able to switch off after work. So if you think of COVID and the effects that had on us, it really blurred the line between the workplace and home. I'm sure everyone in here can think of moments where they've sat up all night working, or they've taken the day out and head to the beach and try and make up the time somewhere else. So those lines really blurred, and I know I felt it being a consultant. We end up working all hours, so I've definitely felt that. The new laws, the ones you're referencing, are called the Right to Disconnect law. So that is about you being able to be afforded the opportunity to switch off after work and not have to focus on anything but your own experience and your own family and whatever you do to bring you joy. So yeah, they are in force now. They just came in a week and a half, 2 weeks ago. So yeah, I would encourage you to try and use those laws to your advantage. I'm not your employer, so I'm allowed to say that.
So what other legislation or laws came out?
There's been a whole host. So actually today we've just if anyone is familiar with the work health and safety field, there's new laws around industrial manslaughter. We have had the final state, Tasmania, close those now, so they have just accepted a bill as of today. They'll be the final state to introduce those laws. That holds people responsible in the case of a death in the workplace. And these things are also branching out further. So this is an additional duty that is applied to officers of an organisation. So they're the people at the top end of the hierarchy that have the direct control over those psychosocial hazards in a workplace or physical hazards. they are now personally liable. So not just as a business, they can actually go to jail for up to 20 years in WA. The business can cop a $10 million fine, and they can cop a $5 million fine individually. So these is really upping the stakes for directors and senior leaders within an organisation. I think the other thing that is really interesting is New Zealand just released a report more recently around work-related suicide. And this is a very, very new concept. We don't really have this or an equivalent of this in Australia yet, but there is an indication that it's going to be coming. So we are talking about expanding our incident notification requirements towards regulators, whereby any attempted suicide or suicide that has a link back to the workplace, that could now become something that somebody can be prosecuted for. So there's some really interesting things, and I think watch this space. I know we'll have more conversations about this over a coffee.
Thank you for that.
Quick question. How many of us have work laptop or personal work laptop? Okay. Have you been tempted to, like, maybe on a weekend just to open it and reply emails and stuff like that, just to be on top of your load? It's never a good thing to do that, okay? Because what you're actually doing is, we're all guilty of that, okay? The time we meant to spend with our family, we just want to, let me just reply 5 email, and by Monday, I'm on top of my load. You're not actually helping the organization, because if organization cannot assess your workload, they won't know how to properly fund for that position. Maybe when you got into that position, the workload has increased for more than 50%. Because you are in that position, you might not realize that. And what you are actually doing is trying to hold everything together and stuff like that. So the last time I went home with my laptop, it's been more than 365 days, to be honest, because there's no way I'll go home without thinking of, maybe on a weekend, just to open it and do one or two things. And trust me, I didn't get paid for that. You can't. So why do I have to do that? No, things can wait. Okay, so that is just it. There is a lot of ways to measure what you're actually doing. As long as you're punching your weight, you're not being lazy and stuff like that. People, the organization will look at it. Okay, don't do anything that will affect your mental health. Like, we need to work. It's important, and we need to play as much as well. Okay. It's important to be okay.
Thank you. To wrap this up, there's a lot of research that shows that we spend most of our life, if we work full time,
two-thirds of our life is spent at work.
At work. 2/3 of our life at work. And now, if you do FIFO, but now we've seen a lot of increase in family breakdown because of this. What's your advice? Because this money is important, but the relationship too, how do you balance?
Look, I've been in this situation myself. A couple of years ago, more recently, probably like 2 years ago, the consultants get paid fairly well, what they can do, but you need to be willing to put in that work, right? So there's almost an expectation that you'll be working 18, 20 hours a day, and that's just expected. There's also a very large focus on financials within the consulting industry, so I fell victim to this myself. I was extremely burnt out towards the back end of it, and I was really struggling. It was affecting my mental health. I had to make a change somewhere, but I didn't really know where that was going to be. I remember, you know that I'm always on LinkedIn. I remember scrolling LinkedIn, and one of these images came up, one of those inspirational ones, and it was the only people that are going to remember that you worked this hard or at night or on weekends are going to be your children in 10 years. And that really hit home for me. I've got 2 young girls. And I have worked FIFO when they were young, so I definitely resonated with that. So I think money is great, but it's not everything, and it's not worth the cost of your own mental health.
Yep, FIFO guys, listen.
Yeah, it's never right to I mean, it's never right to not to give your family the right attention they deserve. Okay, when you're working and you feel, I mean, I know some people that doesn't even take break. I mean, go to live and stuff like that, get paid out for those things and stuff like that. Plan a trip with your family. If you notice that, like if you switch off for 1 week and you didn't go to work for 1 week, maybe on holiday, maybe go down south, by the time you come back, you'll be more productive. Like, it's very important. It's rejuvenating. It helps your mental health and stuff like that. We spend a lot of work at work. I mean, a lot of time at work. It's extremely important to balance it. Take care of your family and look after yourself.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And that's why we are here today. We had to talk about those challenges, those real life challenges, and how we can have a good work-life balance. Because when you work all your life, third of our lives, if it's at work, the ripple effect is going to affect the economy because the children are affected now. And you have, like, I know when I used to do double shifts, like back to back, and it's also even have effect on your health, where you get to the fact that it can even lead to like dementia, lead to like all sort of things when you get older. Yeah. And all these things are very important to know how we balance things together. Please, any questions for them? Feel free to connect with them on LinkedIn, Jamie and Bill Lasisi. Please, let's clap for them, please. Oh, thanks. We're supposed to have comedy now, to laugh. Yeah, when we talk about work, listen. One of the ways you can live long is smiling. Some people's natural face is no longer natural. Good morning. They're not happy anymore. And they are happy inside because over time their face is strong. It's less. But it's important to smile, even if it's fake. Even if you fake smile, it has an effect in your whole body. So even if the smile is not real, you can fake it. It's allowed. It's allowed because it has effect on your whole body. Your muscle relax. And I have a very good friend who I've known over the years, maybe 8 years now, and he's much more older than me. But you can never tell. You can know that this guy is looking after himself, and his lovely wife is looking after him properly. So he's an American. I'm sure he's got a lot of things to say about the debate with Kamala. That was a trap. That was where Trump should have said, I plead. I was looking at him saying, stop talking. Just stop talking. If I was the one, I would just say, but Kamala came prepared. Kamala was like a wife that came prepared for the husband and has all the evidence right. Babe, I was, yeah, were you? How about this? Oh, sorry. So yeah, I'm going to invite a great guy. I told him about this event very short time because this event was totally free, and also volunteers from Sama Media, and also we've got a great comedian, MC Mr. Dallas, to come on stage. Please clap for him, please. Clap for Dallas. Thank you. And after that, we've got 2 more sessions. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, guys. And after hearing all this stuff on stage tonight, I am not okay. Oh, my goodness. We just, I've been in Australia for 33 plus years, and we just got our return travel visas, and we do this every 5 years. And when it came through the mail, I was like, oh my God, thank you. For 5 more years, I'm safe. Because I could tell you, as an American, this is the sickest place on earth, USA. I am so thankful that I'm in this country at this time, and I won't go back until there is either a black woman running the country or another black man running the country. Because, These people are sick. Yeah, I've not been lied to so much in my life than watching the U.S. stuff going on. I mean, you could tell people on some side of that I've had sex with 400 people and my wife was in the bedroom, and they're blaming me for all of this, and they won't believe it. They would just say, no, not that guy. Not that guy, but if it was a black guy, oh yeah, you did it. What kind of crap is that? And being in this country, you can walk down the street, and I've done this before. This is sick on my part. I've been driving, and I've been stopped by the cops, and I've actually gotten out the car, put my hands on my head, and kneeled down. They're like, "What you doing? Hey, what you doing? Why are you doing that?" And I'm giggling inside because I'm saying to myself, "Hey, brother, don't shoot me, okay? I just got off the plane. I know I don't know you yet." No, we just letting you know you drive pretty well. Really, you stopped me for driving well. Wow, I put your gun back just in case. And I know that's sick. I'm serious. I've actually done that. It's terrible. And the cops over here, I won't say they're the nicest group of people, but I mean, there are some bad apples. But majority of the cops here, if you're not doing anything wrong, you're not getting stopped. In the States, you could be walking down the street with your headphones on and enjoying your life and get shot. Aren't you in the best country on earth? And Perth particularly, because there's not a lot of crime. I mean, I get angry with some of these young kids today because they seem like they want to live up to the adventures of the U.S. Brother, what you angry for? All you got to go down is go to Centerlink and get some money. What you doing? Well, I hate people. Who you hate? Who you hate? You hate yourself. That's what you hate. Because if this is the only country you can actually walk out and go get a job if you want a job. You can go out and get a job if you want a job without any stress. And the only people that are not doing that are the people that don't want to work. That's it. And I walked back in, and this young man was saying that he had issues with suicide. One of my colleagues, I'm a team leader for WA in Western and South Australia, and one of my young men in South Australia was just picked up for mental health. And one of the things for me, Vic was saying, I'm a little bit older than him. I just turned 60. And yeah, I know. It don't show, I know. Right on, right on. Black don't crack. But one of the things I was telling this young man after hearing what he was going through and all this stuff, I was like, the most important thing you need to do, because he lives alone and he's going through ex-wives issues, and I've been married twice, and this is going to be my last marriage, hopefully. Yeah, one of the things I was telling you, have to find the love within yourself. For you to be able to wake up every day and sit in a house that you may be by yourself, you need to find the love within yourself to go on. Because at the end of the day, if you're not loving yourself, nobody gives a crap about it. Nobody. And for me, I find love every single day. And I'll go into the bathroom and look at myself in the mirror and be like, "Hey, brother, what you doing? You're looking good today, aren't you?" And I've been in African room, and I'll try to use my African voice. "Yes, you are. You are looking very good." That's shocking. That's the most racist stuff. I'm racist against my own self. But yeah, I tell myself that every single day. I love you. I don't care if nobody else loves you. Even if my wife, she don't love me that day, I love myself. And you need to find that love within yourself, because if you don't, you will find yourself looking at a cliff or the back of a truck or something, and you're more powerful, you're more in the world than without being in the world. And you got 2 daughters, brother, I've got 5 kids, and I hope every single day I wake up and see their little faces. And got kids, you need to go in there and give them little kisses and hugs until they just don't want to kiss you no more. My 18-year-old, she does not like touching parents at all, and it's distressing. And I'm like, Alicia, let's go make another baby. She goes, I am done with anything coming out of this because it hurt the first time. So for me, I mean, I would love to adopt, but then you're not sure what you're going to get. You know, you get a crazy person living in your house. Where'd the cereal go? Got collections of cereal boxes in the bedroom. What you doing with the cereal boxes? You don't know about this stuff. You know, but going back to loving yourself, you need to find that love within yourself. If you do, you will be a better person for yourself. You'll be a better person for people around you. And hopefully I've been a better person in letting you enjoy a little bit of laughter tonight on Are You Okay? God bless. Drive safe. And I want you guys to give this brother a huge round of applause, because this young man, he is so inspirational. Just listening to him talk and hearing the spirit that comes out of him to try to get something better for other people. You know, for me, I've been a person of service, always giving to somebody else. You always give to somebody else, and what you need to find also is give to yourself. You know, going back to that loving yourself, give to yourself. But this young brother here, he is dynamic. You know, forget the socks. I wasn't expecting the socks. But every time I see him, he's always clean, looking like a new pair of pants and a new suit. And that's velvet. Jesus Christ. All right. All right. Thank you, guys. God bless. Appreciate it.
Let's clap for Dallas one more time. He's a very good comedian. But Perth is very boring. If you have talent, if you have talent in Perth, you just die. But if you go to people like Melbourne, Sydney, you see talent there. People are actually having a good time, naturally. It's good to laugh. It's good to laugh. It's good to laugh. I just want to say something. When I left my country, Nigeria, I got on the plane. My parents were like, hey, my son is going to UK. The instruction was, don't greet anybody, oh. Don't eat on the plane, oh. So the instruction was very detailed. If they greet you, run away. They can put something in your bag. You don't want to be caught carrying anything. When you get to the border, me, I didn't understand, because I've lived in Nigeria almost all my life. So when I got to the UK, on the plane, they offered me food. I said, no. Excuse me, sir? Wine? No. Donut? No. I followed the instruction, because the amount that was given to me, if I spend any £1 in that amount, it's going to be very terrible. So everything they offered me, no. Everything, toilet, no. Everything, I would just, when you sit down for 7 hours, you know that until I get there, and when I get there, everything is no, no yes. As I got down, security check, the dog will come, the dog, you know those dogs. As a black man, sometimes I feel, I get a bit of anxiety or phobia. Airport, just airport. Aside from that, I'm fine. So the dog came and, excuse me, sir, just a random check. Can I check it real quick? I'm like, random check. Out of everybody in this plane, random. Check. Nothing was there. Only Panadol. I'm like, excuse me, sir, is it a drug? Is it just a medication? But an older man came to me and asked me for direction. I said, no. I cannot direct you anywhere. I don't know you. So I get phobia, when it comes to airport. And it's funny how that happens. Even in Western Australia, when I fly within regional area, when I'm about to fly, I almost go like I'm naked. Like no belt, no ring, no watches, so that It's like you go to Kmart and you leave Kmart and you sound do. Even if it's not you, because you already feel like, hey, am I doing what? Have I stolen anything? I remember one time I was in Kmart. This security guy, as I entered, because you know when you wear hoodie, then this is why I dress like this sometimes, because I don't want to confuse your stereotype thinking. You know, I wore hoodie. I was in Kmart. I was walking. This security guy is now time for him to walk. He walk like this. 7 I was there. I was like, this guy is watching me. Let's play this game very well. I said, I'm ready for you. I walk like this. It will work like this. I was like, you walk like this. I started running so that, but I didn't steal anything that day. It was fine. It was fine. I didn't steal anything that day. It was okay. It was okay. The next session is about family sustainability. Everything we have spoken about now, you can see that it's very important. The issue of divorce, separation, even finding life partner now is even hard. Like, because you are used to being so single, to find another human being to live with is even the most difficult thing. You're scared of saying, I love you, or let's go on dinner, because who's paying? Before I was not scared. Now I live by myself. I'm very happy. I know where my coffee are. I know where my tea, my remote control, everything is fine. Now coming another human being in the room. What's happening? Don't touch the remote. So now, but then it's very important. Family is very important, and we have to one day. Maybe you decide if you want to get married or get I don't know, entangled or something like that. Whatever you choose is your choice. We are in a country of choice now. If you choose double up or partner, co-partner, bills partner. Yeah, a lot of things. Now I'm going to get the president of United in Diversity. I have Mamta to come. Please, let's give her a warm round of applause.
Thanks a lot.
And then we have Regina. Regina, please clap for Regina. No, based on my visa, if you fall down, you're it's expensive. If ambulance carry you in this country, it's $990. You just stand up and walk yourself. I'm fine. I'm telling you. And then to balance this up, he doesn't know I'm going to welcome him. I think two people, no, one person. The president, I call him president. The coordinator of the African Men's Department, Mr. Sorry, please come on stage. Yeah, I think it's very important to welcome him. Yeah. Thank you. To run this show, I would like to welcome Rumbi. Rumbi will be the one to let them ask questions. Before she starts, I want to talk about, she's talking about the transnational expert in the sense that she said exponent, transnational exponent. In the sense that, like I said when we started, there are some people that they've been here for 10 years and they have their kids back home. Now, when they are now more settled, they want to bring their kids to the country. That gap sometimes is so difficult to bring together, and it's painful when you as a mother, you're like, so I stayed in this country for all these years and now I'm trying to reconnect back to my child. It's so important. And then we have Mamta, who works across all diverse background, people that came in refugee, people, she teaches English, and she supports them through even settlement. And we have our men's coordinator, who his story is wonderful. Like, it's not wonderful, but it's touching when you hear stories like this, how people migrated and how they've supported other people. And because of his own story, he's still supporting more people in this space. Okay, I'll give it to Rumbi to run the show. It's going to go for about 15, 20 minutes. Please clap for Rumbi, a beautiful co-MC. She's single, by the way.
Thank you very much for advertising my marital status. Thank you. Okay. Okay, so I guess what we'll do is we'll start off by each person giving a little bit of a view on your topics, and then from that, I think because Victor has been doing a lot of the talking, I actually want to throw this at the audience. So while they're talking, I'm going to ask you all to prepare questions. We'll take about 4 questions. How does that sound? Yeah? Okay, sounds good. Who would like to start?
All right. Hello, everyone. My name's Regina. I'm sorry, my voice. I don't speak like this. I don't have a deep voice, but I lost my voice 2 days ago, and I'm recovering from a flu. I'm quite a religious person, so everything I speak, sometimes I align that way, and I'll tell you there's no one who works very hard to annoy me like the devil. And for this voice, I'm going to blame him. I know. Yeah, I'm not blaming hay fever or whatever. I'm going to blame him. So I'm Regina, as I said, and I am a transnational families exponent. And I came up with this initiative, families that are undergoing transnational parenting. And as you have been explained to by Victor, it's quite an issue in our society today. And yes, so I'll be touching a little bits and bobs up here, this and that as we go. Yeah, thanks.
Hi everyone, my name is Mamta, and as was mentioned, by profession, I'm a teacher. I've always been a teacher. I came to Australia on a skilled visa about 23 years ago now. And I have been a teacher in high school, and for the past 14 years, I have been a TAFE teacher. So I teach English to the migrants. So it made perfect sense that 6 years ago, I started an initiative to help migrants from all backgrounds integrate into the Australian community. So my work is centered around forming alliances between the 3 segments of our community. So the Anglo-Australian community, the migrant community, and the First Nations people. And yeah, I'm passionate about migrants overall.
Thank you.
Hello, everyone. My name is Suri Bangura. I am the coordinator of the men's department of OAC. OAC is the Organization of African Communities in Western Australia. So 6 months ago, Dr. Casti, the president of OACWA, called me, said, Suri, we want to set up the men's department. Said, and I want you to coordinate it. And the summary of our objective is to look after the welfare of all men, all African men in Western Australia. I said, Dr. Casti, that's a big task. To wrap it up, he said, I want you to look after all the men in Western Australia. I said, that makes it more worst. So to cut it short, so we set up a team. So from that team, our first meeting was to invite all African men to a round table. So from this round table is to establish needs assessment. What do you want us to do for you guys? So in that particular round table, we came up with one important. People identify family as something that matters to them. So that is why if we are here today to talk about family, it's very important. And I believe I will be able to contribute a lot, towards this particular topic. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you. I guess we're going to share a mic. I guess the first question that I can throw at the three of you, feel free to all answer it, or some of you can answer, some of you don't have to. What are some of the challenges that you feel that migrant families have in the first 5 years? I think we can all agree that those first 5 years when you come into Australia or when you move to anywhere can really shape the rest of the life that you live here. So what are some of the challenges that you have seen within your work or within talking to people that come up? And I guess, what are some of the ways that we can combat those challenges? I know it's a heavy question, but very sure you can answer it. Who wants to go first? Yeah, sounds good.
All right. I think for the first 5 years, the challenges that could be most rampant in most migrant families would be like how they integrate into the system here. So you have a mom and a dad, for example. I'll just speak from a standard family, which it doesn't apply to me, but I'm trying to imagine, like, if it's a dad and a mom and a child, and then now the dad has to go to work in an industry he's never worked before, and so has the mom, and then all these things that happen, as our earlier speakers had spoken about, the dynamics at the workplace and everything, that's already a load on your head. And then the kid, no, this is a new school, this is a new country, new friends, new teachers, everything. What does that look like for that child? So at the end of the day, everyone is just in their own world. Mm-hmm. So once they come back home, the child retreats into the bedroom or wherever, or PlayStation or whatever they want to do, and the parents are in their own world. You know how sometimes adults, you just want to stay in your own corner, you don't want to speak to your spouse, or you don't want to go out with your friends or whatever. So I think in such dynamics, those 5 years are quite heavy on families. And you said how to...
I guess the question is,
yeah,
what are some of the things that we can implement
yeah,
within those 5 years?
Mm-hmm.
So maybe we can look at it this way. Obviously, yeah, when you come in as a family, the
mm-hmm,
responsibility is
yes,
for you to set yourself up.
Mm-hmm.
But then there's also the part where, as a community, we do also have a responsibility,
yep,
to take care of each other. So
mm-hmm,
maybe if we can tackle that from your angle as well, where
yeah,
you're now coming in wanting to set things up for a family, and then you can also tackle it from the angle of, as a mom, as a dad, or whatever it is that unit looks like,
yep,
what can you do to make sure you can, I guess, transition in the best way possible?
Cool. Do you want to go to that?
Look, I will tell you my own experience. I think I've been married for 25 years. Why I want to share this when it comes to family, I don't want us to deviate from our culture. As African man, show some amount of leadership at home. Let the family see you as the leader, as the protector, as somebody who's ready to protect that family at all costs. You can go extra mile to protect that family. You take the family as number one, as first. When at least you see within that family sector, the children, the wife, they know that you are doing everything you could within your power to make sure that this family stays. They will respect you, and the family will be able to stay. One thing that is very, very important that when I look at from our own, I'm talking about from a refugee background. When we come here, one thing that break our home that is very, very, common, because I'm very involved in family dispute and very, is financial. Finance is the big issue. And, I grew up from a home that my father is responsible for everything in terms of financial issue within the home. And when you come here, you said everything is 50-50. That's where the problem starts. as an African man, I'm not talking in the, as an African man, where the problem starts is the 50-50. I know if I'm in Africa, I look after my wife, I provide for the home. That is my responsibility. I make sure that I provide shelter, I provide everything that the home needs. If my wife or anybody within the family, even if my daughter now is 24, whatever she brings home is an additional, support. Whatever my wife brings home is an additional support. My wife is spending $250 to do her hair. Sincerely speaking, I can't afford that. But because she knows that she's not paying any bill, she can be able to afford that. So this is how I survive. So for everybody, I'm just sharing my experience, but it might not be the right, or the wrong, but this is how I survived for 25, going to 26 years.
Thank you.
That's a really good answer. From my point of view, I've got a few points that I would like to talk about. I completely second what Regina and Suri have said. I think it's hard for migrants to, sustain their families. We do have expectations that we will continue our traditions and our cultures, but that's not possible. But there are a few things. So I consider myself to be in a very privileged position. I came here as a skilled migrant, found a job straight away, knew English. My mom spoke English. So I think I, want to consider it from migrants in general. So whether you are a refugee, whether you are an asylum seeker, whether you are a skilled migrant, there are some threads that run within families. So I have two boys. They are very grown up now. They are, 34 and 32 now. But when we came here, they were 12 and 10 years old. So, the whole transition was about, as Ephraim was mentioning before, finding time for the family. Because, you get so focused. We all migrants come here for our children. We want a better life for our families. That's why we come here. But once you get here, the pressures, as Suri was saying, the financial pressures, the economic pressures are a lot. Because not only so we come from collectivist cultures. Our family is not just, me, my husband, and my two children. Our family is mom and dad back home, brothers back home, anybody in the extended family. So we are kind of, to this date, I'm looking after, my brother's family who sadly passed away in 2008. And so those are the pressures that we are feeling, that we find ourselves at a loss to explain to anybody, even ourselves sometimes, that why am I different from my four Anglo-Australian, friends and colleagues who are having a good life. They are not worried about, they might be living in a rental and not worried about it. So that's the first thing, I think, is that we come here for our families, and then finding time for our families becomes an issue because we are under financial duress. But some of the things that I would suggest could be done is, because I come from India, in case you haven't guessed from my accent so far, and it's a democracy. So the world's largest democracy. I came from democracy into a democracy, and that's all I've known all my life. I'm 58 years old. I've never seen any other form of, way of life. And to me, democracy, if translated into your family life, becomes a really good tool when you migrate from one country to another. So what do I mean by that? In democracy, everybody is, we have autonomy, we have agency, So in your family, if kids, for whom we came, and I say this with a lot of caution, we came here for our kids, but we really didn't come here for our kids. We came here for ourselves because we knew, or at least I knew that I could give them a good life by coming to Australia. And if I stayed back in India, I would not be at peace. Knowing I could do something better for my children and not doing it would not leave me at peace. So I came for myself. So therefore, first of all, lay aside all expectations from your children that they should be grateful to you and they see you as some kind of a martyr and you made a sacrifice. We didn't. We did what we could. So first of all, let your children have autonomy over their lives. My sons have gone through the whole gamut of, cultural conflict and, going off rails completely and, coming back on track, both of them. We've had all kinds of, things happen in the family. But there is one thing that, autonomy does, is that it challenges you. It challenges you to show to your children that you have trust and faith in them. And that's really, really important for the sustainability of a family. So trust and faith also comes into play when you are dealing with other cultures. So in United in Diversity, as Victor was saying, we have people from all kinds of backgrounds, whether it's Afghan or, South Sudanese or Somalian, or we've got all nationalities in United in Diversity. And one of the things that, you come across, which was really helpful to me in my family, is that this trust and faith that you've got to show across cultures. So intercultural trust and faith is really a learning experience for me, because it meant that I became really flexible and I was able to see beyond the action of the person to the need of the human, and then at the core of it, we are exactly the same, aren't we? I mean, we might look different, we might speak different, we might behave different, but we are all exactly the same. So to me, giving autonomy to your children, spending time with your children, and sometimes that spending time, as Regina was saying, you're on your devices, you're busy, you don't have physical time. Sometimes that time is emotional and spiritual. Sometimes that time is knowing that my kids love me and I love them, and they may be, my older son is in Dubbo now in New South Wales somewhere, but I know that he knows that mom is thinking about him. I may not message him because I don't want to stalk him, I would love to, but I don't want to. But my son knows that mom is thinking about him. My younger one is with me, and he's 32. And earlier it was said that who was saying that 18-year-old daughter doesn't want to be kissed. My 32-year-old now comes back and kisses me, because life comes full circle. You do your bit and then your kids give you back, and that's what you're hanging in for. So if you're doing all of these things, giving the trust and faith, giving them autonomy, let them have agency over their life, let them have freedom. They are not going anywhere. If you love them, they will not go anywhere. And you know how we say, if you love somebody, set them free. But it's hard when they are your children, because, as a mother, I know, I want to hold them, with my umbilical cord. My older son was born with his umbilical cord 3 times around his neck. And it was a difficult delivery. So, and I always tease him that, I had it around your neck so that I could, literally keep you. And he goes, Mom, I hope you're not going to strangle me with that. So, but no, look, jokes apart, give autonomy to your children, give them freedom, give them agency over their lives. They will not go anywhere. And if you can't spend time with them physically, spend time with them emotionally and spiritually even. You said you are a person of faith. And I think mothers and fathers can find time to find ways to spend time with their kids. So that's what I'll say.
Thank you. I want to ask, Thank you. I want to touch on really 2 important things that you both say that I really, really like. I want to come to you first, because I am very anti 50-50. But we'll see when we get married. But I'm very anti 50-50 because, in my opinion, it's extremely unfair on the woman and it only causes them distress. However, I think also growing up in a 50-50 society, I also then have that view of some of the advantages that come in with doing 50-50. Do you think for a typical, and I'm not talking about your generation because that's in your system, so it's much more easier for you to go with the system than start to reverse at a certain age, right? But do you think that it is sustainable for young African couples, I'm going to talk on African couples because that's where I belong to do 50-50 or for the male to do 100? And what I would like you to answer factoring in mental health as we know it now.
Sorry.
Look, from my own experience, I enjoy 100%, providing 100% for my family. I enjoy it. And I love it because, there is peace. There is peace, total peace in my home. When my daughter comes home, Dad, the only person she will ask for school fee is Dad. The only person that she will ask for any financial issue at home. Look, even if I go home, sit in my room and I ask my wife, look, I'm struggling financially, can you help? That is between me and my wife. But as long as there is that, social contract, like, taking care of my family. Look, this is from the African point of view. 98% of the African relationship, the man is the first person to initiate the love. Go to the woman, say, look, I want you to come. I love you. I want us to have a relationship. So you are inviting that woman to come and have a family with you. So you have taken the lead. So since you've taken that initiative, to have a family with that particular woman, I believe you are the leader of that particular home. But in my home, I call my wife my boss. Because when it comes to some decision, I know there are certain decisions. Look, I think a lot, especially when it comes to the family, to keep this family safe. This drives me, I'm going to deviate from your question. This drives me to our project that we are coming, family and domestic violence. Why we take family and domestic violence as a very serious issue is the fact that when you ask somebody to love you and you have a relationship with that person, why? I'm asking this question. Why would you want to hurt that person? Why? If you think at a particular point in time that, look, I'm going to break your head, something is wrong. I'm going to slap you, something is wrong. You're going to hurt that person, something is wrong. So it's better to sit down and discuss what went wrong. Because somebody that you love, you will not hurt that person. So it's actually probably looking at the love, there's problem with the love. Look, in my tribe, we can do anything. We can do anything and everything for love when you love someone. So what I'm trying to say is that in your relationship as the elder, as the leader of that particular relationship, you can do everything to make sure that that family stick together and doesn't break up.
Although I come from the Indian culture, our culture is very similar. So it is a male-dominated society. The man is supposed to be the leader of the family, the provider, and it's a really big, I think it's a pressure on the man to be a provider, to be honest with you. Now, but I do feel that every couple is different. Every couple is different. Within the Indian society or the African community, I'm sure it's the same. That, Suri, you said something that was really, really poignant to me, and that is that, you are the provider, but your wife is the boss. And the thing is, you said you're providing 100%, but your wife is also providing 100% because she's taking care of a very important aspect of the life, and then you're taking care of your aspect. And that's how life works. It works as a team. In my case, I'm no longer married. I got divorced 4 years ago, but till the time we were married, I was the one who was the main breadwinner of the family. That's how things worked out. But, going back to your question, if there is a couple that thinks that, 50-50 would work for them, well, more power to them. But in my opinion, my very humble opinion, I don't think there is a 50-50. It has to be 100-100 from both sides, Because we're talking about building a life together. And we are thinking about building a unit together. Kids are secure and safe in a family where mom and dad are both putting 100%. So, I don't think there is a percentage or a mathematical formula that you can run relationships by. This is much more multidimensional than all of that.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you both. A round of applause. All right, anybody with the question? Yeah, sure. Sorry.
After this, we still have the men's session, so men, you will talk.
Yeah. Thank you guys for the insight. Mr. Sorry if I didn't pronounce your name very well. I like how you approach the leadership from the perspective of protection rather than being the boss is very important. But how do we balance being a leader, being the man of the house, African mentality, with controlling, which is the main issue for marriage breaking up in the Western world?
I think in my home we have we have the pepper, that is the chili, and the salt. I am the salt, and my wife is the chili. So I'm the good cop, and my wife is the bad cop. And sometimes when she's shout, they are all afraid of her. And when she comes, everybody goes to their shell because she's the boss. So, and I like what she said, she's providing 100% also. When I'm talking about 100%, I'm talking about 100% financially. But she's also doing 100% on her own to make sure that the family is safe. So there are some certain things I will sit there and I don't interfere because I know that she's doing the right thing. Yeah, come and sit here, do your homework. Look, come here, do this. So, because I don't shout, I don't shout, I don't, When I know that things want to go out of hands, I will come in a peaceful, I know how to do it. With no disrespect to my wife. I know how to do it to make sure that at least she's gone overboard. Yep.
Some people have chilies.
All right, so mine is not really a question. It's just a follow-up on Mamta's speech on the autonomy, giving your kids autonomy. So for her case, as she mentioned, her kids were already 10 years old-ish before you migrated to Australia. So she's done most of the heavy lifting in making sure those kids understand the value, they understand, what it means to grow up. So there were times you would spank them for, taking extra yogurts or things like that, you know. So, but when they were below 10, you know. But what I'm trying to say is, it's a very good point to say, you know, kids become autonomous at some point, but always remember the key that it starts from you nurturing them to a certain level, and then they can fly from that level. So don't expect them when they are 2 or 3 to be autonomous and know exactly what they want. So that's just in addition to what you said, which is fantastic. Thank you.
I think also to touch on both the points that you've made around children. I grew up in Australia. I think I moved here when I was about 14. And I really struggled for quite a while just with the way that I was trying to fit into the Australian society, but also remain African. And I really like that you said you have to have faith and trust if you're going to make the choice to bring up your kids in a country, in an environment. You have to put a lot of faith and trust within that environment that they're going to be able to maneuver themselves. I think as we grow up now, especially when we're talking about childhood trauma and things like that, it's always interesting because around migrant children, no matter where they come from, it could be from Middle East, Africa, Asia, you find that we have this fear that we have, and it's sad because that fear then also translates when we're now at work. We're not confident within ourselves. We're not confident to navigate environments. And unfortunately, that lack of trust and faith that a lot of parents have, where they hold their children back a lot, actually comes back later in our years to bite us, where we're no longer as comfortable as we are. So I think it's really important to understand, and I don't have kids, let me just say that. So this is somebody speaking as somebody who's just hopefully on the other side, but I think it's really important to, like you said, have faith and trust in the environment that you're choosing to bring up your kids. Does anybody else have a question? Yeah, sure.
You mentioned like domestic violence a little bit there, and I think that's a really interesting topic. It obviously goes a lot further than physical in some cases, and there's a lot of focus on gender-based violence in Australia. How do you see that intersection playing out within your local communities?
Yeah, this is something that we've researched, properly, and we find out that the statistics is not in our favor with the men, and so that, and look, there are perpetrators on both sides, and there are victims on both sides, and I feel very emotional when talking about this because I always visit men in prison, and when I visit them in prison, it's so sad, Look, in our society, I know most of it is in the news, not only in the Caucasian community, but it's in the African community as well. Of course, we've seen so many things that have happened. The 2 brutal killings of those 2 ladies by our own, African men. And we have people, I'll call names like Manana, dealing with, if you look at her home, she has about 4 or 5 men there right now that have been asked, out of their houses. So it's a big issue within our community. It's a very, very big issue. And we are so tired with dealing with those particular issues. And as a leader also in my own community, Sierra Leonean community, I find it difficult when you get called from the police or you get called from your friend, say, look, come and get me. The police have kicked me out of the house. So it's so hard. So that is why we want to bring the perpetrators and the victims together. It's a very hard one. So that we can work together, we can understand each other, and then we can move forward. We are not going to eliminate it, but we want to reduce the statistics. And I believe by reducing the statistics, we've done well. You know, gradually we reduce the statistics. That is what we want to do. It's difficult. I went to the program last week with the police on family and domestic violence, and I went to a break out session for the perpetrators. And the lady that is sitting closer to me, you know, was in tears. And because when they were talking about it, she can see her husband in the picture. And she was in tears. And this husband is my friend. You know, so it's a big one, it's a big issue. And we are trying all our best, you know, to make sure that at least we create more awareness, because what we want to do as men's department, we are not going to be there to be running around, but we want to create that awareness that people will know the various channels of help and what you can do, you know, to stop the family and domestic violence.
So within the Indian community also, family and domestic violence is a big issue. And it's not just partner violence, it's also elderly abuse, which is also part of the domestic and family violence. There's also a lot of financial abuse. And it's really strange that when I came to Australia 2002, in 2003 there was an incident, people who've been here long enough will remember, in Bull Creek. An Indian man killed his wife and went to jail because of that. And he had 3 children. And those 3 children were adopted by another member of the community and brought up. And what are the chances of this? That now I am doing a project on family and domestic violence through Curtin University with the same woman who had fostered those children. I mean, life comes full circle, right? So, but I also happen to be on the Healthy Relationship Strategy group with the town of Victoria Park. So a lot of experience of working in this, area has told me that it has no boundaries. There is no particular, we've got family and domestic violence in the First Nations people, we've got them in migrant communities, we've definitely got it in the majority Anglo-Australian community. So, and I know that, I grew up watching family and domestic violence in my own home. My dad used to hit my mother, and so, seeing all of that. But I think I would go a step further, than saying that we need to reduce the incidence. I think prevention is the key, and it starts with our families, doesn't it? When we bring up our boys to respect women from the word get-go, that's where it all starts. And then, holding our kids accountable for any kind of bullying that they might be engaged in. I know that, sometimes it's very tough to accept that my child has been a bully, But if you nip it in the bud at that time and you get the help for your child that they need, and, proactive sometimes means taking responsibility for who you are bringing up and how you are bringing them up. And not that getting them help will then make them into some kind of perfect model individual or a paragon of virtue in some way. It may not. But at least it will open them to the fact that they are a human being that is, subject to flaws. They can make mistakes, and it's okay. It's only a mistake. It's an error that they have made, and they can then go and get help and correct that. We don't want our, men and women to think that they have to be, perfect in every way. Women are also perpetrators of family and domestic violence, as are men. So, we've got to be mindful of that. But bringing up our kids in our families in an environment of respect. And again, I always go back to trust and faith. Putting trust and faith in your kids and letting them take, you talked about a 2-year-old being autonomous. I think that's where autonomy starts. You let your kids be making small little decisions and fail. Let them fail, let them fall, let them learn. But you be behind them and you say, my love for you is unconditional. I don't care, I think that story you mentioned, Faith, I think that story of the prodigal son is so true. Is that, if as a parent you are somebody who says to your child, in my book, you will never be wrong, even if you went to jail. And you might commit a crime and you may have to go to jail, and so be it. Let the law take its course. But in my eyes, you are always a winner. Do your time, come back, and we'll start again. So I think parenting needs a lot of courage and bravery, especially when you're not doing it in your own country and your own culture. You have to be ready to take the tough decision sometimes, So that's what I would say. It starts with families.
Thanks. Yep. Thank you. I think, yep.
I want to throw a question at you.
Yes.
Were you going to answer?
No, I just wanted to just add on a little thing.
Yes.
Yes.
I also want to throw in the question around. Sorry, I'll use the mic.
Which one?
So.
Oh, yeah.
So I want to throw a question at you because you brought in the conversation about faith and religion. What, in Australia, what role does religion, specifically African religion, play when it comes to DV? And I guess in a way, I won't put my own bias into it. So I'll just say, what role does religion play when it comes to DV within the African community?
Actually, that's a very good question because it's just going to envelope what I was going to just point out. In addition to what you said, as parents, it is our duty to be courageous and to take, you parent with intentionality. And what I want to say about that is that I want us to normalize therapy. Because, yeah.
That's the most important thing.
Let us normalize therapy. Yeah. At our ages right here, there's so much that we've carried all along from when we grew up and up to where we are. And there's a lot. There's just too much. So the root cause of most domestic violence issues is therapy. I know religion and sometimes maybe in the African community, sometimes some people do not believe in therapy because they believe that, God shall take us through. No. In this case, let us take responsibility of ourselves and do what is right. And once we begin now from the root cause, when we start from the root cause, therapy is just something that transforms you until you're like, wow. Because now you're looking at the mirror and now you're addressing issues from way back. And now from there, now you know how to navigate your way through. Yeah. So I think for me, I would say, I'd say let's normalize therapy. And it's going to transform not only our families, but even our relationships, even the way we relate with each other at work, friendships, communities, everywhere. Your mind is just you become like a newborn in ways you can't even explain. Yeah.
Thank you all so much. Round of applause for our panelists. Thank you. You guys can. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you. Yes. Thank you so much. Thank you. You did so good. Oh, amazing. Thank you. All right. So we're going to get to our second segment. For this segment, I am going to call a few people to come up. Okay, so I'm going to call upon Gomez, if you want to come up, please. Thank you. Round of applause. Thank you. And then Dr. Toyosi as well, if you want to come up. Round of applause for our panelists. Are you joining?
I'm just going to add one more person so that it doesn't look all black. Yeah, maybe let's add no, female. No, we want to talk about men. You want to come? Come. Come forward, please. Come. You'll be very good for the camera. Please come. No? No, no. Can we get a volunteer before we point out somebody? Kumbo. Chileta. Who's that?
Chileta. It's not me, it's him. You can slap him after this, it's okay. Oh, sorry. No slapping. We don't do that over here. Spent a few years in therapy. No, I'm joking. Okay. All right. So we're going to be talking about men's mental health. But I guess also our conversations are going to have a female angle to it too. So again, if everybody, while they're talking and introducing themselves, if you can think about what questions to throw at them, that way we can make this discussion very full. And also I don't have to do all the talking. Okay, I'm gonna get you all to introduce yourselves. Is it working? There you go.
Am I going first? Or?
Yes.
Okay.
You have the mic. You can go first.
Okay, how you going, everyone? My name is Gome. I have lived in Australia since 60s. 1989, so I've been here for a while, but I still feel very Zambian and very in touch with the African community. I have a lot of African friends, and it's such a pleasure to be here today and speak about mental health. I am passionate, extremely passionate about mental health, and in particular, talking about men specifically. So really glad that Victor invited me to speak on this topic today. So yeah, looking forward to it.
Thank you. Round of applause for Gome.
Hi, my name is Kumbo.
I'm sorry.
I know. I came to watch, and now I'm here. So I've been in Australia since I was 16 years old. So I've kind of, I guess, grown up here. Have my fair share of things. I'm guessing Rumbi has called me up here because she knows a fair few things that I've gone through.
Not at all.
But it would be great to see that from a perspective of, men's mental health, because I do have, I guess, a perspective.
Yeah. The reason why I actually called Chiletto, I don't know if anybody, do we know who she is? No? Okay. She's actually quite famous. She won't say it. But when I started talking about mental health, I think this was around 2018, 2019, she was one of the few black women, young African women that was hosting conversations around mental health, which is why I thought she would really be great to contribute to this as well. So didn't just pick on her. It's not who I am.
All right. Good evening, everyone. My name is Toyosi Craig. I go by the name Dr. Sunshine. Sunshine because I bring so much sunshine to men's life.
Hey, okay.
I'm quite young, but I'll be shocked that I also mentor older people, while I also have mentors of my own. I've learned over the years to improve my emotional vocabulary when it comes to men's health and men's mental health. I'm an engineer, so I've worked all my life around men and few women around there. On the contrary, I have more female friends than male friends. But at the same time, if you speak with me, you'll know that I'm very pro-male because I'm actually secretary to the coordinator that was speaking here earlier and working on men's health. So I hope to share one or two things, and I'm also the president of African Professionals. So hopefully from all angles, we can bring what men are going through and how some of you can help men if you have to in your day-to-day life. Thanks.
Oh, okay. I just want to pre-warn you, the three of you, that I'm going to ask you very tough questions. Do I have permission? Not that you can... You really can't say no, I've got the mic. Like, come on. Okay, I guess the first question that I want to throw at you is that what has been the most impactful to your mental health? You can choose in a negative way or a positive way. It's just up to you.
Since it's a men's forum, I can let the men start. I can start ladies first? Okay. For me, so I moved here when I was 16, and I think the first time of remembering what that actually meant in space of mental health was when I chose that I wasn't going to go to my graduation in year 12. And that was because I felt like it wasn't my group of people. So I finished what in Malawi is called Form 3, which is year 11. No, because year 11, yeah. And then in Malawi, finishing your, the fourth year or your year 12 equivalent is a big thing. You celebrate with your friends. I was at a, girls' Catholic boarding school, and then I move here and I'm at there's boys in class. I'm like, oh, okay, different scenario. So I felt that it wasn't my year to graduate. So that was the first part of just a small thing of like, this feels different, but I don't know why it was different. And we moved to Geraldton at the time. And in the school that we were in was about maybe 900 kids, and I was the only black kid. So that was the first time I realized I was black. And I didn't really think of, mental health being something that I needed to think about. But it was when I noticed that I didn't want to do something that was supposed to be a big celebrated moment, it meant something for me. I moved to Perth and went off to uni and school, and it was maybe by the time that I was meeting Rumbi and starting what she's talking about, was having conversations around, what are the things that we don't talk about, particularly when you're African, things that you just don't think about at home as something that is weighing on your mind, but you come here and you see everyone else talking about it, and you're like, oh, maybe that's something I should be concerned about. Okay, I'm having these thoughts, and I'm thinking of things like this about myself. Maybe I should speak to someone. So it was around the time that I thought of therapy for the first time. And that was when I went to really appreciate the amount of work that is required to really have a good mental health. So.
Yeah. Thank you. That's a really great answer.
Yeah, I guess my journey started when I was in Bible college in the early 2000s. And I got forced to go and see a counselor due to an incident with my current partner at the time. And my thought was, why would I go and speak to a stranger about stuff that's going on for me? For me, that concept was so foreign. Because coming from a Zambian context, I spoke to my cousins, my uncles, my aunties. It was strange to me. But going through the process, and like I said, I was forced to do it, and the pressure of, I'm here on a student visa, and so I've got to do whatever the college says, I've got to do. So I did the therapy, and for the first time in my life, I felt seen. And I thought, wow, that was so transformative for me. And I thought, if I can do that for another man, that is all I want to do for the rest of my life. So I guess that was it for me.
That's good. Thank you.
Thanks for the question. I'm pausing because growing up, for me, one of the challenges I had was expressing myself. I talked a lot, but I wasn't expressing myself. Even when I wrote I did it so fast, I had to write my autobiography when I was 30. So I wrote it, I didn't even know it was going to be a bestseller. Now, I said this book is dedicated to parents of children that are special and special children. Even then, I couldn't express myself. So when I was growing up, for example, I'll be saying to my parents, it's like my ribs are hooking each other. Sometimes I say there's a tree inside me that wants to grow, right? I just didn't know how to express myself. So when I started growing up further, I realized like men, emotional vocabularies are limited, right? Because the society places a particular expectation on you. Especially, for example, if you're a very smart kid, then the whole of the village believe you are saving them from poverty, right? It's automatic. I had my dad sit me down, ask me to be a medical doctor. Why you have to look for the hardest neurosurgeon, something, such that for his own pride too, right? Because generally men is, in our mind, even though we can't express it, you are competitive in your mind. So if you have kind of not failed or let yourself down, then you look at your children to fill in that gap. So that pressure transfers. And then going through that, growing up myself, I realized like sometimes it still happens, I'm still a work in process, right? So sometimes I just don't talk, even though I'm a talker. Sometimes I talk the whole day, I'm not passing any message. So then I sat down one day, I met a couple of people, did therapy too. And so when I started the mental health advocacy, because it's totally different. I'm a doctor of engineering. So when you're talking about mental health, people like, you don't know anything about this. So I had to do a lot of reading. And that made me a voice in that line. I wrote some things down while I was there. These are the things I I'll drop out there. So I realized that when you are going through things as a man, generally because society doesn't allow you to talk, you have to feel strong, right? Generally, you have to feel strong. There are some things that are like society expectation, because you are a man, you have to man it up. Have you seen some situation in your life where you are not able to express yourself to your wife? Or you are being sacked, or people are getting sacked at work. You are not being sacked yet, but there's likelihood of getting sacked. But you can't even say it. But every other thing is crumbling, but you can't express it. I said stigmatization and a few other things I'll mention later on. So what helped me was I learned these vocabularies. I learned to think what I'm thinking. Am I feeling connected? Am I feeling jealous? Am I feeling hurt? Am I curious? Am I anticipating? Am I proud in this moment? Am I feeling guilty? Am I insecure? Am I overwhelmed? Why am I restless? So I have kind of vocabulary sheet that I created for myself, and I also share with people. Because sometimes when you withdraw as men, right, you need to actually know exactly what is going on. Because we are bottled up so much, you don't even know which one of them is the problem right now. And then when a kid does like this, you just say, get out of there. You understand what I'm saying? Because we generally bottle up. So what brought me to this line was, growing up, I could express myself, even though I was talking a lot. Now I figure out that I need to be sitting down, withdrawing, express myself rightly, and from there I can take steps to find solutions to my mental health. Thanks.
Thank you. Did you want to answer that too? I mean, you're sitting at the panel, so.
So I think before migrating to outside Nigeria, I never knew there was anything like anxiety or depression or anything like that. I faced my chapter of loneliness in Scotland, where I'm in my student room by myself. I'm trying to make friends. They didn't understand my accent, and I didn't understand them. All my classmates were Asians. And Scotland, you know, before you left Nigeria, you think all white people spoke English, until I got to Scotland. And I was like, oh, this is not what I saw in the movies. Why do you sound like this? I don't understand them, they don't understand me. So it was more of sign language, or just write it down, what you're trying to say, write it down. And the reason why I'm sharing that, because that era, the only place where I could meet people and mingle was the nightclub. Because when all of us are with the whiskey and we are drinking, language is very fluent. You understand me, I understand you. And that's the only place you can actually socialize. That is the only level ground that assignment, no. But in that place, everybody's fine. But then when I had issue with paying school fees and everything, and I felt like I'm applying for a job, I can't even get a job. Because I'm applying for like renter, and the owner of the house is saying to me, oh, we only give this renter to English-speaking people. I'm like, what am I speaking? It's sad. You go for job interviews, and they're like, okay. And then, that time I was using my first name, Oluwafemi. And then, you know, even in the boxes in Scotland, there's not enough space to actually contain all the names. So they say, oh, what do we call you now? We say, because of that, I believe, I don't know about HR or expert, I believe because of my name, I didn't get the job. I'm saying 2011 in Scotland, I was in Stirling, if you Google city of Stirling, they got the independence in 2002. The only black person I saw for months was cleaning the airport. I could not even greet him, because if I had greeted him, I was afraid. Mommy said I should not greet anybody. If I had greeted him, I would have joined him to clean the airport. That was my mentality, because I just watched the movie, The Django. And the Django, there was a lot of slave and everything. When I got to the country, I'm saying when country looks like everybody's white. And the only black guy there is cleaning the airport, do you think I will greet him? And all this part, I got into that depression, like loneliness. I couldn't even express what I'm feeling. I didn't even know what I'm feeling because I've never felt that in my life before. I didn't even know, is there a name for it? Until I got to the school counselor and they're like, oh, if you're going through anxiety, mental, this and that. I'm like, what this guy is talking about? I'm like, I was going through my dad. I'm like, even at that time, this is what we're talking about. The pastor cannot even help at that time. You get? And, it's, they say, oh yeah, let's pray, let's do this. But I'm like, nah, I'm getting homeless very soon. This is the problem. Is not the prayer. Just I need to. But then, the more you find yourself and being able to talk about it, the more you feel comfortable. Because again, as a young guy, then you don't want your classmates to also make like, oh, Victor cannot pay his rent. Oh, Victor is gonna get kicked out. Oh, Victor cannot get a job. Oh, Victor is gonna lose his visa. Oh, Victor, and then like, oh, are you okay? I'm like, no, I'm fine. Don't worry. My father will send the money. Whereas there's no money coming from anyway.
Thank you. All right, I want to throw a question at you. So my question is, what do you think makes it hard for males in our generation to speak about mental health? I know we've spoken about language, which is a really big issue for us, especially as African people, but I'll also say as people in this generation in general. I think all of us are coming from a period in society where we couldn't talk about these things, so we don't have the words to express them. But now that we're living at a time where it's okay to talk about it, even if you don't understand, it's okay to ask for the education, it's okay to go and seek support. What are some of the things that you find within your own male groups at this age that make African men, again, I'm specifically saying African men because that's the culture that I belong to, but this is not just for African men. What are some of the things that you think make it harder for people within your age group as males to seek help and support? Or is it not hard anymore? Because I'm female, so I don't really know.
Okay, I'm going to throw a question to all the ladies in the house.
Hey, please, God, I'm leaving.
If a guy asks you out and you say no, is he allowed to ask your friend out?
No.
One different from that opinion? Men in the house, would you ask? So, of course, she said no. And then one of our friends is, I don't want to use the word hotter, but looks better character. Men, would you ask her out? Yes. So you see the difference, right? Now, she's still shocked. She's still saying no. Now, I'll tell you what, the exercise I did now. Okay, he's saying I should ask why, but maybe we'll do that as a webinar because of time. It's a big discussion.
Wait, why it's a problem for you to ask two people within the same friendship group?
Yeah, I'm saying I asked the ladies. If a guy asked you out.
Yeah.
You said no.
Yeah, we all said no.
And then he didn't push for that. There's no time. He didn't push for that. He moved to your friend.
Yeah.
And he asked the friend out. Is he a good guy or a very bad guy?
He anyway.
No, so
he's a brave guy.
Yeah.
The men say he's brave. The men say they will do it, but let's hear. What are the women saying? They all said no.
So for example, if I was the friend, my question is, why didn't you ask me out first?
Wait.
I am speaking about the first lady.
Can I also say something? The problem with the situation that you're talking about, right? It almost goes back to, I think, part of the conversation that was raised before with the earlier speakers around visas. Are you asking out because you're falling in love with people, or is this you just looking for?
Next one.
Okay. Wait, sir. This conversation. Right? Okay, now let's flip it. If the guy asks the girl out and the girl says no, but if the friend of the guy asks the same girl out, can she say yes?
Okay, let It's okay. Let me now read.
And no, yes, remember, we are very limited with visa. We are only limited here. There is no entrance again. Limited.
This mic is better. Now, I think this mic is better because this is important. Now, what I've done, the exercise I did now, is what we call stigmatization. Either you like it or not. And this is the genesis of why men don't talk. Yes, wait.
You tell. It's okay.
Continue. You can buttress it. Now, the exercise I did now is the genesis of why men don't talk. Generally, when men express themselves, like I said, the society has made men feel like we are the best, we are strong, whereas in the true sense, men are weak. Not in strength, don't get me wrong. Men are, when I say weak, not in strength, emotion-wise, because we are still processing it. When a man see a nice girl look good, he doesn't even know what he wants yet. He just say, "Hi, how are you?" I'm serious. I'm serious. I'll bring it home to mental health. He says, "Hi, how are you?" I just recently found out 2 years ago that once you say to a lady, "Hi, how are you?" You look good. You're already asking her out. I just figured it out. I've done this exercise with a lot of women. Now, men generally, once they face that issue, they generally withdraw. Yeah. Now, in real life of it, when men are going through stuffs, the society has placed it that, imagine me talking as a man, that my wife beats me, hit something on me yesterday. It's easy for a woman to say, "I got hit by this guy yesterday." Everybody wants to kill that guy, right? Let a guy come and say to a fellow guy, "My wife beat me yesterday." He will first laugh, roll on the floor. I'm like, "Sure? A whole you." Whereas if it's women, immediately they say, "Oh my God, let's deal with that guy," right? And then that translates to, I don't think there's a lot of time to translate that to a lot of things. So I'm just picking one point. I have over 10. But one point that men don't talk, or why men face all these challenges, is the public stigma that goes with it. Society expects us to be strong, to be providers. I love what Mr. Bangore Sori said the other time. I'm from Africa too. I'm a provider 100%, but I'm not saying I will always be 100%. If I have it, I pay for everything. But if I'm not there, if you've got it, just settle it. Just be kind, right? That's how we're raised. Just be kind and 100% kind. But going back to it, to round it up, the stigma that follows when men express themselves is actually the main reason. I said that question. I asked that question before because not all men are brave. He used the word brave. Not all men are brave. There is a lot of men that you think they have a lot of girlfriends and they actually have none. Right? Because they've been bullied and you didn't know they were bullied. Because he spoke to this girl, it took him 2 weeks to say that hi. Now he said the hi, the girl looked at the profile picture and was like, "Hi, bro, we are doing the same shifts. We are doing the same shift. Who is this guy?" You'll be like, "Hi," and then you stop responding. Now this guy in this small pet, or maybe Australia, how many single people are available? So another person in your circle, maybe he doesn't even know, and then say, "Hello, you look good." And you know women, because you do that because one of the answers we've heard is they want to protect their territory. You want to still feel like I'm the only one that this guy asked out. Immediately he asks someone out, it becomes a word I don't want to use, right? Now, the guy generally loses confidence. And in that way, either it becomes bad or he withdraws to himself. In mental health, that's exactly what happens. In homes, that's exactly what happens. And even in professions, that's exactly what happens. I hope you gained something.
Just I guess a couple of points. The first thing is I think it's important that we define what we're talking about when we talk about mental health. Mental health is a spectrum, just like physical health. And I think a lot of the times we speak about mental health, what we're talking about is mental illness. And there's a real big distinction there. And I also think it's important to acknowledge that men are starting to reach out. So in my private practice, in my work as a counselor, I'm seeing more men than I've seen previously. So I think we really need to acknowledge that, and acknowledge that people are starting, there is a shift, but it'll take a long time. And I think one of the things is thinking about what is our greatest terror as men. And I think when you go down to it, really what our biggest terror is as men is the ability to feel that we have substance, that we're enough. And I think a lot of the times that is exposed, particularly in relationships with women. You know, women is the point where we're exposed for not having the substance, not having what it takes. And so what do we do as men? We kind of go to our places of comfort, which is typically around academia and work. So how do we define success as men? We, you know, on the sporting field, in my job, or at uni, where I can compete with other men and feel like a man. But in the home, I have no idea what to do in relationship with women. So that I think that raises a whole issue around how do I then speak about that without feeling less than I already feel because I don't feel like I have the substance. Yeah.
Thank you. So I think I guess the question was why men don't reach out more. I think coming back to your question, it was a great question, by the way. I loved it. But the reason why women will easily be like, you can't ask my friend out is because we talk. And it's something that we've been doing since we were young girls. It's something that girls are taught to do, to share, because we know girls are like, you know, we get the term women are emotional, but it's for a good reason, because we express a range of emotions since we've been young, and it was acceptable for us to do that. For men, it's a lot different. The boys were told to don't cry, don't hit like a girl. So I think that has grown up, that has, developed into years and years of repressed emotions, whereas the opposite is true for girls. We're pretty good at, one of my really good friends is here. If something happens at work and something happens in a relationship, I promise you I'll be at her house having a cry and having a conversation, because I'm able to do that. And I think it's very different for men. So it does become very, it's easy for women to go, why don't you speak more? Why don't you talk more? The truth is they've never been taught to do what we do. And I think of that in terms of if I had children, or I think of if I had a son, that's something I think we should focus on, and helping young boys to not feel like they have to be strong, hidden. I think that's something we can change in this generation. And like you said, it's definitely becoming more acceptable for men to come forward and have a conversation. I've definitely had more conversations with men about stuff that's going on in their life than I think maybe in the last 4 years than previous to that, because it was a lot of it not acceptable. But I guess girls have been taught to do it from a young age.
And one thing I remember is one of the things that also happens is when any event wants to happen for men to bond, it's often activities. If you go to church, if you go to society or your social group, when men want to bond, we are doing braais, we are going hiking, right? But women do things that makes them talk to each other, right? I don't remember last time we said men's hangout. For what? Like doing dinner, like your nice stories or your picture where you see all those like eight fine girls doing glass like this. I think we went and two friends maybe like 7 months ago or something like that, right? So activity sometimes is good because it's what we've been passed on generation to generation. But it's also okay to find activities that make us talk. And it's okay to talk to people that are not actually from your background, from your race, because one of the challenges we want to always do is we think if somebody is not African, then he can't really understand where I'm coming from. Sometimes they may not, but sometimes experience teaches people, right? Yeah. People are white. And if you're not comfortable speaking to people around you, maybe because you'll be judged, right? You can always find help, just like they say. And there's help. Just talk. And process it and talk.
Thank you. Is there anybody that would like to throw a question before I do so? Yeah. Sorry, unfortunately, thank you very much.
Oh yeah, I think that was me. No, I think it's just a comment. I reckon that for us men, I agree with Kumbo, growing up, women are more exposed to, sort of those emotional conversations and experiences. Either you gravitate towards an auntie, or your mom takes you under your wing, and then you grow up with that. But for men, it's very hard, especially an African male, where there's this sort of responsibility that's bestowed upon you when you're very young, and you're told, actually told to repress your emotions, but the environment that you're in conditions you to be like that. I think men reach out to each other more when you're going through something traumatic. So either if it's a divorce or if you're grieving and all those kind of things. So I told my wife that I will marry her every year for the rest of our lives. All right? And only because I do understand that there's going to be different versions of me as we go along. So this year you're married to Woods in this version, but next year we're going to renew our vows because there's a different version of me. So I think it's about us men being more aware of what women go through, understanding it from their perspective, and that today she's going to love you, tomorrow she might want to stab you, the other day she's going to be glorifying you, and being able to be the constant in her life, right? To give her that emotional security. In terms of financial security, that's different in the environment that we're in. I think people are talking about 50-50 and 100%. This is very different. I think the solution, the healing point for us, our generation, I think you raised a question about our generation, is to close the door to the previous generation, because we're molded by that environment. So we saw our dads doing things, we saw our grandparents doing things, and we find that, okay, yeah, I can do the same. So we need to close that door and start to create our own generation of how we're going to progress as men moving forward. I'm raising a boy and a girl, and I can already tell my daughter needs a certain different type of support, because the range of emotions in the house, we can go through 8 emotions in a day. But I'm there to understand that as her father, her self-esteem, if I've got low self-esteem, my daughter's gonna have low self-esteem. Okay, chasing girls and doing all those days are behind, because that's not the type of environment or the type of relationships that I want my daughter. I want her to be strong. So I have to be a rock in her life. But then when I'm raising this one, I know that he needs, the conversation is not just about the birds and the bees, but the conversation is also about consent in the type of environment that he's in as well. So just wanted to add that point.
Thank you. That was such Thank you. Thank you so much. That was such a great contribution. Does anybody else have a question that they would like to ask before I throw it at them? Yeah?
No, it wasn't. I guess it's for the men. So any man in the room, across the room, here on the panel is welcome to answer. I know it was started as a joke, and it's something that I think we don't take seriously when it comes to things like rejection, because we understand what that does do to... I promise, wait, I'm not... My point is, what stops you from talking to your friends about something basic? So something as simple as, this girl rejected me, that actually impacted me. I don't know how I feel about that. That it might be a small thing, but for a girl, we're actually going to talk about that. We're going to talk about you all day, about what happened. But it's something, because we do it so small, it's a small thing that leads to other parts of our conversations. That's how we open up and end up in conversations. Is that something that men would do? And if not, why?
Keep mentioning them. Fear, ego, lack of confidence.
You get a nickname.
With friends.
Yes, you get the nickname with your male friends, especially. Yeah, which is one thing that why is when we were growing up in secondary school, I remember, even if the girl rejects you, you will still put on a smiling face, because you don't want your friends to know you have just been rejected, right? They say, give me your number. No, that's okay, I'll catch up with you next time. And now this thing plays on even to the point of like that fear of rejection, the ego. And you have to look like, oh, I've got all these things together. That's why you see some men, they can brag about a woman they have never been with. He said, I've been with her. Like, I know her. She's my girl. She was with me last week. And you'd be like, she doesn't know you. But that gist makes other guys look at him and say, wow, you are the man. I want to be like you. And that continues for a long time. I think in that part of changing that culture is more like, if I come to you for help, for conversation, don't shut me down and say, don't worry, bro, don't worry, it's life, move on and everything. Let's go get a drink. And that's the most annoying thing ever. Because you get a drink and you get drunk, then you even make more errors on the existing error. Now your error is ×2. You get, and this is how even it gets more complicated. You get a drink, you get drunk, you meet another problem, then you continue with the problem, not you, but continue like that. Then you lose your license. Then you see the thing becomes even more complicated than you budgeted for. And these are the ways that we as men, when someone asks, listen, even if you have to go for a drink, don't make it too much about the drink. Make it about listening to the person.
What I want to use to answer you and to the men, like I said, I think I helped a man who is like 62 go through divorce. And he's a professor. He's so well-to-do. Like, this is a man that you will not think he could fall. And I helped him through the process. Now, what I would tell men is, it's okay to have no as an answer. It's okay to be rejected. See, if you don't shoot, you never know where you miss or not. And I mean even in professional career. And even in whatever you do, right? Shoot your shot. Like, it's a big deal. When I say shoot your shot, shoot your shot. There's nobody you can reach out to, no matter how high that person is. Even if they say no, if there's a proposal you need to submit, if there's something that will make you happy, just do it. Even if all your friends says, look at you, you think you can do it, just start something, right? And if they say no, it's okay. So let's normalize that whatever people tell you as no, it's not your personality that they are rejecting. The person just didn't understand you. And if people say no for the first time, doesn't mean they won't say yes tomorrow, all right? Because I realize in my relationship with people, even in the African men community, and a lot of people I've met here in Perth, when people are knocked down once, they go into their shell. And this go into profession, like there's a trend that I found here. When I came in as a global talent, and I started working immediately. And I see that it's not the same for a lot of people. And I'm saying that because that somebody is doing so fine today doesn't mean you can't do better tomorrow. At the same time, I realized there's a template. You come here, you do this kind of job, you study, and then you get through this route, you go to this regional or something. There's a template that everybody has been following, right? If people have followed it and they've been frustrated, it's okay. It will be kind of they try to pass their frustration to you. So it's okay for you to challenge the status quo as men. And while you are challenging the status quo, be ready to receive rejection. And that's why when he was about the opportunity. I mean, I never planned to do PhD in my life. It's good for my parents because they call themselves doctor's parent. I just went to school. I wanted to work. And one led to the other. I did my master, I did my PhD, I did engineering, I did law. All of them eventually today, I was just doing it. But all of them combined today to be paying off, right? So when people say no, because one of the major reasons, to answer your question, is conditionally, when we hear no, you don't want people to know you are rejected. Yeah. How many of you tell your friend, when you apply for a job, you tell them, but when that job says no, you don't want to talk about it, right? So it's okay. Receive the no and the yes will come.
Thank you.
Yeah, I guess I must be one of the weird people that have developed and cultivated around me a tribe of people that I need to go to. And these are the people that I've told, even in advance of time, I'm going to ask that girl out, be on standby, because if she says no, I'm coming to have a yarn with you tomorrow or whatever. So I think that's really important. I think also we need to understand that this is a systemic issue. Society in general does not celebrate vulnerability and courage, unfortunately. And so men are caught up in the systemic world where all we see on Facebook and on social media is people's successes. People don't go on Facebook and talk about their rejections. People don't talk about. So as a system, we don't celebrate vulnerability and courage. And I think from my perspective, that's the new sexy, is vulnerability and courage. People that are willing to step in the arena and willing to lose. I think we need to start to celebrate and normalize that a bit more.
I was just going to finish that question with, I think that's the important thing here is you have to be your brother's keeper. Like the way girls will genuinely do that for each other. If men could do that for each other more, when your friend comes over with a problem, like don't be the toughen up guy. Don't be that guy, you know. Let him speak and be your brother's keeper.
All right. Thank you all so much. We are wrapping up, so I'm going to throw one question at you, but my bedtime is 9, so let's rush it up. Okay, so my last question to you all is, I want you, I guess, trying to find a better way to phrase this, but I guess what makes you feel the most loved?
I like that lady that said, go, man.
What makes me feel the most loved? I think from my perspective, like I said, the reason I got into counseling and mental health was when I felt heard and seen and not judged and was able to be authentically myself in the presence of another. And I think that's such a rare thing these days, is to be able to just be who I am in that moment and know that it's going to be okay. So to put it succinctly, for me, that's it.
She just read me notes. It's okay. It's a man's panel. You start.
All right. As men, especially if you're a high flyer, one of the things we do as Africans, we don't own our success. We are told, like, if you are successful, you have to come out and say, oh, thank God for, even though, for example, as students, you knew you didn't sleep the whole week to get that distinction, you have to talk it down, like, oh yeah, we thank God for the opportunity. I just did a little, you know, right? I figured out with my self-reflection that I like to be recognized by people I love. Like, because the outside celebrates me every day. But then it gets normal. My wife is here. When I get her, she'll be like, Dr. T, like, my head will be doing like this, voo, 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 voo. And it's very simple. But I figured out that that actually makes me happy. And my mom also knows how to massage my ego. Like, she didn't call me on my birthday 2 days ago. I was like ready, and then the next day she had an episode of hour by hour, how her day went, that she was doing all those things for me. That's why she couldn't call. Now, it's very simple. And as Africans, you dare not say this publicly because you are seen as proud, right? So even though I'm this giant or whatever it is outside, I want to still be recognized at home, because those are the people that knows my flaw. Those are the people that knows how I look. When somebody saw me there yesterday, I wasn't wearing glasses. Today I'm wearing. Those are people that know my real self, not what people know. So if those people actually can say, well done, or it's okay, even when I fail and they say it's okay, or somebody's bullying me somewhere on social media and they're painting me and they say it's okay, we are with you. For me, I think that's the epitome of love. And yeah, it may be different for everybody. Thanks. You are not.
Thank you. From what made me feel love, I think recently I've been exploring love from within, and love from myself, and love, like, it's very difficult to explain because it's quite spiritual. But then the love from within it's something that even when I'm feeling down, I'm able to say to myself, I love myself, and I appreciate living. And I think I also now enjoy a lot, see the bondness in my family, my brother, my sister, just having the family group call from all over Canada, and just everybody just there. Oh, what are you doing? I'm still sleeping. Oh, what are you doing? Those phone calls makes me feel like, wow, like this is so cool to be able to connect with loved family. And when you explore that, you discover that nothing really matters in this world. Your job, your title, whatever, nothing really matters. Your family is the core, and yourself of everything that really matters. Thank you.
All right, a round of applause. Thank you. You guys can take off the stage. Oh, careful. Okay, that brings us to the end of our session today. Just want to say thank you all so much for showing up today. Thank you for being here. Thank you for asking questions. Next time I'm like one time. Anyway, I'm joking. Thank you all so much for showing up today, for asking questions as well. A round of applause for Victor for hosting. Thank you, thank you. Round of applause for all our speakers and all our panelists.
Please help yourself at the back. Try to talk to someone, connect with someone, and thank you guys for coming in very early. You guys, this is not African time. This is your own time. Please try and connect and connect, meet new people, and take pictures, and hopefully we can do this more often. Having this conversation would be very nice to have this conversation. For Summer Media, please clap for the media crew at the back. So this is like live, so people are watching all over the world. We just came together and let's put this together. We normally people will say, oh, there's no funding, there is no this. We're like, no, we have to do this. And I really appreciate all of you coming together. Please clap for yourselves one more time. And let's clap for Rumbi. Remember, she's single, no children. You want a gentleman. Dr. Abraham Epa. Please, music and just mingle and meet people. And thanks for the Croton University's journalist students. Please clap for them. You stayed all through. Thank you very much. Please try and get a number, get Instagram, connect, and thank you.
Body, body, your body, 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 your body, 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 your body. She say make I give her vitamin C, vitamin C. Me switch up the game, me give her vitamin D, better vitamin D. I said they pull up, the rain they follow. I saw that.
When it was lost, I held my heart.